Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by 𝗕𝗏𝗁2198 on Wattpad. Now let's start. Name: Izuku Parker. Age: 25. Title: The King in Black, the God of Symbiotes, the God of Darkness, Spider-Man, God Killer. Looks. His body. Personality: cold, serious, tough, caring, calm, ruthless. Likes: Aunt May, training, becoming stronger. Null: his loved ones, helping people, ice cream, Venom, the Justice League, Batman, the Batman family, Deadpool, Doctor Strange. Neutral: the Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four. Hates: Paul, Mary Jane, the Sinister Six, anyone who harms his loved ones, Mephisto, his old world, Harry Osborn, his former friends, the Heavenly Alliance, Darkseid, Thanos. Powers and abilities: unmeasurable strength, speed, durability, unmeasurable agility, reflexes, endurance, wall crawling, spider sense, healing factor, organic webbing, shapeshifting, camouflage/invisibility, hyper regeneration, psychic resistance, spider sense, evasion, symbiote mastery, living abyss, immortality, god killing abilities, cosmic awareness, telepathy, devour, darkness manipulation, darkness authority, black flames manipulation, death manipulation, reality manipulation, bioelectricity/venom blasts, martial arts mastery, adaptability, a symbiote mastery suit. His form: God of Darkness. His sword: Necrosword, evolved form. His Ms/father figure: Null. After his training and becoming the new god of symbiotes and King in Black, Izuku decides to enter another dimension to start anew and leave his past behind. However, he finds himself in a dimension where Marvel and DC collide. As the story unfolds, Izuku reflects on his past. He recalls how he had been betrayed by the Sinister Six, leading to his demise. His life had been a series of unfortunate events, including having his body taken by Otto Octavius, who claimed the mantle of Superior Spider-Man. Otto committed numerous crimes while using Izuku's identity, tarnishing his reputation. Although he eventually reclaimed his body, the damage was done. Friends, allies, and even Aunt May turned their backs on him, leaving him isolated and heartbroken. The girl he loved chose another, and the city that once embraced him now hunted him like a pariah. As Izuku floats in a void, he feels the weight of his solitude. He closes his eyes, meditating and accepting his fate. Just as he begins to embrace the stillness of death, a voice interrupts him. A dark figure emerges, exuding a menacing aura that sends chills down his spine. The figure introduces himself as Null, the god of symbiotes and darkness. He acknowledges Izuku's struggles and the betrayals he faced. Null reveals that he has observed Izuku's life, noting the heartbreak and sacrifices he made for others who never appreciated him. Izuku listens, feeling the weight of Null's words. He questions why such a powerful being would take an interest in him, a man he considers to be insignificant. Null's presence looms large, hinting at a new path for Izuku, one that could lead to redemption and power beyond his imagination. Null had traveled across multiple dimensions in search of a worthy successor, and now he stood before Izuku, recognizing his potential. He expressed his longing for Izuku to take his place as the new god of symbiotes. Izuku was taken aback, feeling unworthy of such a title. Null reassured him, emphasizing that despite the hardships he had faced, Izuku remained true to himself and never gave up. He had fought against gods and emerged victorious, achieving remarkable feats that even the mightiest weapons could not surpass. As Null approached Izuku, he gently patted his head, acknowledging his special qualities. Overwhelmed with emotion, Izuku broke down in tears and embraced Null, who returned the gesture, offering comfort. After a heartfelt moment, Null asked if Izuku felt better, to which Izuku expressed his gratitude. Null then posed the question of whether Izuku was willing to become his successor and the new god of darkness. Reflecting on his life and struggles, Izuku looked at Null with determination and nodded, ready to accept the challenge. Null was pleased with the resolve he saw in Izuku's eyes. He explained that he would train Izuku in this dimension, a place known as the Abyss, where he had brought Izuku after his demise. Null warned that the training would be intense, but it would transform Izuku into something greater. The training commenced, and Null pushed Izuku to his limits, teaching him various fighting styles and techniques. He granted Izuku the symbiote known as Black Heart, bestowing upon him immortality. Despite the grueling nature of the training, Izuku persevered, breaking through his limits and absorbing Null's vast knowledge. He bonded with Venom, and his appearance changed dramatically, gaining a perfect physique and striking features. As time passed, Izuku became a formidable warrior, embodying a cold ruthlessness that Null had instilled in him. Eventually, Izuku completed his training and sat in a meditative position, having surpassed his 𝗵𝗲𝗄. Null observed with pride, recognizing Izuku as his masterpiece. When Null instructed Izuku to stand, he did so, now more muscular than ever. Null declared that he had taught Izuku everything he knew and presented him with a gift, the Necrosword, a weapon capable of defeating gods and celestial beings. Izuku accepted it with gratitude and embraced Null once more, surprising him with the gesture. In a moment of vulnerability, Izuku referred to Null as Dad, a term that left Null in shock. For the first time in ages, he felt a warmth in his heart. As Null began to dissolve into red particles, Izuku understood that it was time for him to rest in the world of nothingness. Null expressed his longing for peace and entrusted everything to Izuku, urging him to show the world the true power of the King in Black. Izuku nodded, tears in his eyes, acknowledging Null's past but choosing to see him as a father figure. Null advised Izuku to be better than he was and to remember that he was his masterpiece. With Null's final words, he faded away, leaving Izuku with a sense of purpose. He promised to make Null proud and stored the Necrosword in his pocket dimension. Venom emerged from Izuku's shoulder, commenting on Null's unexpected affection. Izuku acknowledged that Null had indeed become like a father to him. As they prepared for their next move, Izuku declared their intention to confront a certain adversary in Hell, and Venom was eager to join him. With a snap of his fingers, Izuku transformed into a striking all-black outfit, ready for battle. He retrieved the Necrosword and opened a portal, stepping into Hell. Upon arrival, Izuku surveyed his surroundings, noting the ordinary appearance of Hell. He attempted to sense Mephisto's presence but found nothing, suspecting that the devil was causing chaos elsewhere. Venom remarked on Mephisto's typical behavior, and Izuku couldn't help but smirk at the thought of waiting for their enemy while having some fun. With that, they prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. Izuku prepared to unleash his Devour ability, ready to confront his adversaries. Meanwhile, Mephisto had been on Earth, reveling in the chaos he had caused and the deals he had made with humans. He felt satisfied that Izuku Parker was finally gone, though he wondered why his soul had not come to him. Regardless, Mephisto dismissed the thought, content that Izuku was no longer a threat. He had ensured that Izuku's life had been filled with torment, and with the deals he struck with the Sinister Six, he had collected even more souls. Since Izuku's demise, New York had descended into chaos, with crime rates soaring and heroes struggling to maintain order. Mephisto relished the turmoil, knowing it was not his concern. As he opened a portal back to Hell, he was taken aback by the sight of numerous dead demons scattered across the ground. Shocked, he hurried toward his castle, encountering more fallen demons along the way. He vowed to find the one responsible for this devastation and make them pay. Upon entering his castle, he discovered his demon knights lying lifeless, some missing limbs. As he approached his throne room, a chilling aura enveloped him, making him uneasy. There, he saw someone seated on his throne. Izuku greeted Mephisto, noting how little he had changed and calling him a pathetic devil. Mephisto, confused and alarmed, questioned who this intruder was and whether he was responsible for the massacre of his demons. Instincts screamed at him to flee, as the presence before him felt overwhelmingly dark. Izuku reminded Mephisto of their past, revealing himself as the one he had tormented. Mephisto struggled to comprehend, realizing too late that Izuku was supposed to be dead, having been killed by the Sinister Six. Izuku, with a hint of mischief, informed Mephisto that he had trained hard and gained absolute power. Mephisto recalled the moment Otto Octavius had ended IZUKU's life, but IZUKU dismissed his concerns, suggesting Mephisto should focus on his own predicament. In an instant, IZUKU vanished from the throne, reappearing behind Mephisto, who was stunned to find his arms severed. He had not even seen IZUKU move, and panic surged through him as he realized the extent of IZUKU's newfound strength. IZUKU's eyes glowed with power as he brandished his necrosword, instilling fear in Mephisto, something he had not felt in ages. IZUKU remarked on the fallen demon, indicating that there were more to go. As the scene shifted, IZUKU observed Mephisto, who was paralyzed with fear, knowing he stood no chance against his opponent. IZUKU took pleasure in witnessing Mephisto's despair. Venom emerged, declaring their identity as darkness itself, the King in Black, and the god of symbiotes, Mephisto's worst nightmare. Mephisto's eyes widened in terror as memories of Null's past assault on Hell flooded back. Null had once instilled fear in him, and now, IZUKU embodied that same dread. Desperate, Mephisto pleaded for mercy, offering anything to save himself. IZUKU coldly informed him that nothing could save him now and that he was destined for a grim fate. Mephisto attempted to manipulate IZUKU by mentioning the chaos in New York, hoping to provoke the hero's instinct to protect the innocent. However, he failed to recognize that IZUKU had transformed into a different being, no longer the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but rather a force of reckoning. IZUKU dismissed Mephisto's concerns, indicating that he no longer felt responsible for the plight of others. IZUKU had a determination to save himself from the past. He reflected that if he were still the old version of himself, he might have abandoned everything to rescue the people in New York. But now, he had shifted his priorities. He was tired of being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That was no longer who he wanted to be. Venom emerged from IZUKU's shoulder, casting a glance at Mephisto. He suggested that they could absorb Mephisto's abilities and memories, which could prove advantageous. IZUKU considered this and found it to be a tempting idea. Venom smirked at Mephisto, growing in size, preparing to consume him. However, Mephisto's words stunned both IZUKU and Venom. He revealed that IZUKU's Aunt May had been killed, a revelation that left IZUKU momentarily speechless. Mephisto continued, explaining that after IZUKU's death, Aunt May had regretted not believing in him. Heartbroken, she had been the only one to hold a funeral for him. Tragically, she was later kidnapped by the Green Goblin and the other members of the Sinister Six. Mephisto's cruel words about her fate struck IZUKU deeply, leaving him in shock. Believing IZUKU was still reeling from the revelation, Mephisto attempted to attack, but IZUKU vanished and reappeared behind him, swiftly incapacitating him. Utilizing his devour ability, Venom consumed Mephisto, absorbing his powers and memories. This act granted IZUKU a significant boost in strength. Despite Aunt May's past decisions, he still cherished her, as she had raised him alongside Uncle Ben. No matter the circumstances, IZUKU couldn't bring himself to harbor hatred for her. Overwhelmed by a mix of rage and sorrow, IZUKU vowed to take revenge. He felt a surge of power coursing through him, and the very ground trembled as he unleashed his bloodlust. Dark red clouds gathered in the sky, and red lightning crackled, causing confusion among the heroes and villains engaged in battle. IZUKU declared his intent to confront those responsible for his pain, ready to show them the consequences of crossing someone with nothing left to lose. He opened a portal using his necrosword, asking Venom if he was prepared for the confrontation. Venom affirmed his readiness, eager to end the conflict once and for all. Meanwhile, the X-Men, Avengers, and Fantastic Four were struggling against the Sinister Six and an army of Hydra soldiers. The power boosts they had received from Mephisto and Otto Octavius gave their enemies a significant advantage. The Green Goblin taunted the heroes, reveling in their defeat, while the others echoed his sentiments, mocking the heroes' inability to stand against them. As the heroes slowly rose, they felt the weight of despair. Iron Man lamented their overwhelming odds, while Captain America wished for Spider-Man's presence. The realization that they had doubted him weighed heavily on them. Miles felt the sting of regret for betraying his mentor and friend, wishing he could turn back time. The battle was broadcast live across New York, showcasing the hero's struggles. Just when hope seemed lost, a portal opened, and IZUKU emerged, clad in his black suit. The sight left everyone in shock, especially his former enemies, who recalled the terror he had instilled in them. IZUKU's presence was a stark contrast to the playful hero they once knew. He was now a force to be reckoned with. The villains were left speechless, grappling with the reality of his return. Even the heroes were taken aback, realizing that the man they once knew had transformed into something far more formidable. As MJ watched the news, tears filled her eyes at the sight of IZUKU alive. Back on the battlefield, the villains struggled to comprehend how he had returned, each one expressing disbelief at the sight of their former adversary standing before them once more. IZUKU's transformation was undeniable, and the air crackled with tension as he prepared to confront those who had wronged him. Everyone noticed that IZUKU was not cracking jokes. He was serious, his voice cold and filled with rage. Kingpin, Rhino, and Shocker understood that when Spider-Man wore that suit, he was not to be underestimated. IZUKU declared that he was not there for amusement. They were all on his list. He was on a hunt, and they needed to prepare themselves, for they would face consequences for what they had done to Aunt May. Taking a deep breath in his mask, he assumed a battle stance, and the Sinister Six prepared for confrontation. A tense silence fell over the group as IZUKU suddenly appeared in front of the lizard, grabbing him. With his tendrils, charging dark crimson lightning into them, he slammed the lizard into the ground, creating a massive crater that forced everyone to jump back. IZUKU called the lizard an ugly mess, showcasing his overwhelming strength. The lizard attempted to fight back, but IZUKU quickly webbed him up, just as Andrew had done in the Amazing Spider-Man movie. The lizard struggled to escape, but he realized the webs were black instead of the usual white. They were infused with IZUKU's dark energy, rendering them unbreakable. IZUKU taunted the lizard about his family abandoning him before jumping onto his back and delivering a powerful punch that fractured his skull. Using his darkness manipulation, he created a sword and stabbed it through the lizard's face, leaving everyone in shock. He twisted the sword, cutting through the lizard's head, and the body fell lifeless to the ground. IZUKU declared that it would return to dust, and the lizard's body crumbled away. Iron Man was stunned, realizing that Spider-Man had just killed someone. Miles was in disbelief, while Susan gasped in horror. Iron Man wondered what had happened to IZUKU, and Johnny felt nauseated. Emma remarked that this wasn't the IZUKU they knew, and Black Widow sensed something was off. IZUKU then rushed toward the remaining members of the Sinister Six, but Hydra soldiers intervened. He declared that they would never stop him and vanished, appearing in front of the Hydra soldiers, slashing at them from multiple angles with a sword he had created. He challenged them, ready to take them all on. Reed questioned when Spider-Man had started using a sword, while Vision admitted he couldn't follow IZUKU's movements. Miles pondered what IZUKU had become. Meanwhile, MJ watched from her home, horrified by the slaughter of the Hydra soldiers. IZUKU shot a dark web at Shocker, who dodged but was quickly slammed down, reminiscent of Miguel's attack on Miles. Kingpin attempted to punch IZUKU, but he dodged and punched through Kingpin's body, calling him pathetic. His hand ignited with black flames as he burned Kingpin. IZUKU then vanished, appearing behind Rhino. Grabbing his face, he dragged it across the wall, expressing disdain for him. He broke the ground beneath him, lifting a massive boulder and slamming it down, eliminating Rhino as if he were an insect. He declared good riddance. Electro shot multiple lightning blasts at him, but IZUKU dodged them effortlessly, rushing toward Electro, who screamed in terror. IZUKU created a dagger and blitzed Electro, slashing him into pieces, declaring another body down. Kraven leaped at IZUKU, attempting a finishing blow, but IZUKU dodged and stabbed him in the neck, causing him to cough. He admonished Kraven for looking at him with disgust and slashed his eyes, rendering him blind. He then severed Kraven's legs and dragged the dagger downwards, cutting him in half. IZUKU's spider sense kicked in as he caught Scorpion's tail and severed it, then ripped him apart, tossing the remains aside and burning them to ashes. As IZUKU punched the ground, smoke filled the air. The vulture flew up, trying to locate him, but IZUKU was already in the air, stabbing his dagger through the vulture's neck. With incredible speed, he slammed the vulture into the ground, creating a massive crater. As the smoke cleared, everyone was left speechless, witnessing Izuku with his dagger embedded in the vulture's neck, a dark aura surrounding him. He declared another body down and continued to eliminate his foes and Hydra soldiers. The heroes watched in horror as body parts flew, screams of fear echoed, and the air filled with the scent of BLD. Captain Marvel was at a loss for words, while Spider-Woman expressed her shock. Hulk lamented that the Spider-Man they knew was gone, and Cyclops noted that Izuku was killing without hesitation. Hawkeye felt guilty for not trusting Izuku, and She-Hulk realized they had turned him into this. Iron Man concluded that they were the real monsters. Izuku stood, his hands soaked in BLD, as he faced Otto Octavius and Green Goblin, the last two remaining. He did not want to kill them in his suit, so Venom extracted himself, revealing a more muscular, taller, and handsome Izuku. With a furious expression filled with hatred and rage, he announced that it was time for the main event. Izuku, also known as Spider-Man, stood resolutely, glaring at the Green Goblin and Otto Octavius, the two individuals who had inflicted the most pain upon him. He felt a deep-seated rage as he confronted them, declaring that they were about to face a world of suffering. Otto Octavius acknowledged Izuku's transformation, noting his newfound strength and ruthlessness. He questioned whether Izuku truly believed he could defeat them, boasting of his superiority. Izuku dismissed Octavius as a mere imitation, asserting that if Octavius was superior, then he was absolute. The Green Goblin taunted Izuku, insisting that no matter how strong he became, he was destined to lose and suffer. He laughed maniacally, suggesting that Izuku would be nothing without them. In response, Izuku's eyes glowed with intensity as he unleashed his dark energy, overwhelming everyone around him. As he covered his hands in dark energy, he took a stance, exhaling cold air. In a flash, he appeared before the Green Goblin and Otto Octavius, grabbing them by their faces and slamming them to the ground. He vowed to make them suffer for everything they had done, including the loss of his family. Izuku's instincts kicked in as he sensed the Green Goblin's glider approaching. He effortlessly crushed it with his dark powers, leaving onlookers in awe. The Green Goblin, desperate, attempted to stab Izuku, but his blade failed to pierce Izuku's skin. Otto Octavius struck Izuku, causing him to slide back slightly, but Izuku remained unfazed. Otto was bewildered by Izuku's transformation and strength. The Green Goblin launched bombs at Izuku, who chose not to evade them, allowing the explosions to occur without harm. Emerging from the flames, Izuku declared his opponents weak. Before Otto could express his disbelief, Izuku struck him with a powerful blow, causing him to cough up BLD. With incredible speed, Izuku unleashed a flurry of attacks on Otto, leaving him no chance to retaliate. Izuku then dragged Otto through a wall, lifted him into the air, and broke his back, eliciting a scream of agony. Izuku continued his relentless assault, lifting Otto by his hair and forcing him to meet his gaze. In a shocking display, he removed Otto's jaw and eyes, making him confront the horror of his own fate. He then extracted Otto's heart, crushing it, leaving nothing but dust behind. Turning his attention to the Green Goblin, Izuku's eyes glowed with power. The goblin felt an unfamiliar fear creeping in, but his ego pushed back against it. He hurled pumpkin bombs and shurikens at Izuku, who effortlessly sliced through them with his claws. In a swift motion, Izuku seized the goblin by the neck, slamming him to the ground. Izuku expressed his disdain for the goblin, creating daggers from his dark energy and pinning the goblin to the ground. The goblin writhed in pain as the daggers burned him from within. Despite his suffering, he laughed maniacally, trying to provoke Izuku further. Izuku's expression remained cold and emotionless, a stark contrast to the goblin's maniacal laughter. For the first time, the goblin felt true fear, the fear of dying. Izuku confronted him, reminding him of the despair he had caused others, revealing the monster he had become. As Izuku continued his relentless assault, the heroes and citizens of New York watched in horror. The goblin's face became unrecognizable, and he begged for mercy, but Izuku showed no signs of stopping. Black Cat attempted to intervene, but Izuku dismissed her with a swift motion. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Izuku stood, breathing heavily, his hands stained with the consequences of his actions. He took a deep breath and glanced back at the shocked heroes, knowing that he had finally freed himself from the torment of his past. Izuku reflected on the situation, feeling a mix of sadness and frustration. Miles Morales felt a sense of loss, wishing Izuku would refer to him as "little bro" like he used to. However, he understood the reasons behind Izuku's change in demeanor. Susan reminded everyone that heroes do not take lives, but Izuku shot her a piercing glance, causing her to flinch. He asserted that he was the true hero in this scenario, not her. Iron Man attempted to interject, but Izuku cut him off, expressing his disdain for Stark's attempts at reconciliation. Captain America tried to reason with Izuku, acknowledging the pain they had caused him, but Izuku interrupted him as well, frustrated by their insistence on their moral code. He revealed the years of suffering he endured at the hands of those he once considered allies, the so-called Earth's mightiest heroes. Izuku recounted the time he fought an interdimensional villain for 12 hours without food or rest, only to find himself abandoned when he needed help the most. He had been hospitalized for months, yet none of them visited him. They had witnessed his struggle against Morlun, yet they did not believe his claims of innocence when Otto Octavius had taken control of his body and committed crimes in his name. Emma questioned how Izuku had become so hardened, while Black Cat noted his ruthlessness. Izuku responded with a bitter summary of his experiences, revealing that they had seen him as a disposable hero. He had felt broken and alone, wishing for the pain to end. It was in that darkness that he realized a harsh truth. He needed to become what he had once fought against. As he stood tall and began to walk away, the female heroes of Marvel looked into his eyes and saw a lifelessness that brought tears to their own. Izuku turned his gaze back, expressing his resolve. He declared that he had no intention of taking revenge on them. Instead, he wanted them to endure the pain and regret of their actions, believing they were not deserving of his time. Izuku wanted everyone to remember that their actions had shaped him into who he was. He opened a portal and stepped through, finding himself at his old home, now reduced to rubble and ashes. Memories flooded back of the joyful times spent there with Aunt May and Uncle Ben when they were still alive. Venom emerged, sensing Izuku's sadness. He expressed concern for his partner, noting that Izuku was clearly struggling with his emotions. Venom admired Izuku's resilience, recognizing his incredible willpower and ability to rise after every fall. He wished for Izuku to find love, hoping he would meet someone who would cherish him, unlike Mary Jane, who had caused Izuku so much pain. As Izuku looked down, he spotted a picture of himself with Uncle Ben and Aunt May. He picked it up and brushed off the dust. Next to it was Aunt May's diary, miraculously intact. He opened it and found a letter inside. Venom magically produced glasses and began reading the letter alongside Izuku. Izuku was taken aback by the date, which was after the events of the Superior Spider-Man saga, when he had regained his body from Otto Octavius. Aunt May had aged gracefully, and her letter began with a heartfelt message. She expressed her sadness at not being there for him anymore, wishing she could witness significant moments in his life, like meeting his future wife or holding his children. She reminded him of the great responsibility that came with his powers and urged him to seek help when needed. Izuku's eyes widened as he realized Aunt May had known he was Spider-Man long before the events that unfolded. Venom acknowledged her awareness and strength, recognizing how deeply she understood Izuku's struggles. Aunt May's words resonated with him, emphasizing the importance of kindness and the need for support. As Izuku read, tears filled his eyes. He felt a mix of happiness and sorrow, knowing Aunt May had always loved him. He whispered his love for her, and Venom comforted him, reminding him he wasn't alone. Venom declared that they were family and would always have each other's backs. Wiping his tears, Izuku managed a smile and thanked Venom for lifting his spirits. Venom suggested they grab some chocolate, and Izuku agreed, planning to buy clothes and embark on a new adventure in a different dimension. Izuku felt it was time to leave the past behind. He placed the picture and diary into his pocket dimension, the only remnants of his loved ones. Just as he was about to swing away, he heard a voice he didn't want to confront. Mary Jane approached, and Izuku towered over her, his imposing presence filled with a mix of emotions. She expressed a longing to talk, but Izuku was firm, reminding her of her life with Paul and their children. Mary Jane insisted she wanted to rekindle their relationship, claiming they could be happy together. Izuku and Venom exchanged incredulous looks before bursting into laughter, leaving Mary Jane confused and frustrated. Izuku had never imagined that he would find himself in this situation. Venom expressed disdain, declaring that they found Izuku to be an embarrassment. Venom pointed out that he had fallen from being a superhero to a mere shadow of his former self. MJ, visibly upset, questioned Izuku's transformation, lamenting the loss of the boy who had once loved her deeply. Izuku, however, revealed that the version of himself she remembered was gone. The Izuku standing before her had gained clarity, aided by Venom, who knew how to treat him right. Venom chimed in, suggesting that there were many better girls waiting for Izuku, noting his charm. He speculated that the only reason Izuku was single was that his future partner was hoping he would remain unattached until they could meet him. MJ, confused, questioned Venom's nature, but Izuku defended his partner fiercely, asserting that Venom was family and not just some alien substance. He explained that Venom had helped him see the truth about their toxic relationship. As MJ's eyes widened in shock, tears began to form. Suddenly, Paul rushed in, throwing a punch at Izuku in defense of his wife. Izuku took the hit without flinching, feeling no pain. He dismissed Paul as weak and retaliated, slamming him to the ground with a force that left Paul screaming in agony. Izuku warned Paul to be careful, suggesting that he could end things quickly if he wanted to. Venom added that he would love to insult MJ and her husband, but nature had already done a better job. Izuku remarked on the sting of the situation, urging Venom to leave, as they had better things to do. He instructed MJ to forget him and warned her never to show her face again if she wanted to avoid trouble. He expressed that he could have ended things there but chose not to out of compassion for any children they might have. With that, Izuku departed, leaving MJ heartbroken and sobbing. He went to a store to gather some new clothes, and the people there, sensing his power, gave him everything he needed for free. Dressed in all black, he held a bag of food for himself and Venom, which he stored in his pocket dimension. Izuku asked Venom if he was ready, and Venom inquired about which dimension they would enter next. Izuku admitted he didn't know, hoping they would end up in a good place without encountering any heroes, as he might not hold back against them. Venom encouraged him to open the portal, and Izuku transformed into his symbiote suit, summoning his sword to cut a portal open. They stepped through the portal into another dimension of New York City, where heavy rain fell in the evening. As Izuku emerged from the portal, he looked around, confused about their location. Venom noted that this place resembled New York but felt different. Izuku leaped to the edge of a building, observing the bustling streets below. He confirmed they were in a new dimension, but it was still New York, albeit with some differences. As he scanned the area, something caught his attention, and he decided to investigate further. With a flick of his wrist, he shot a web and swung into the night, ready for their new adventure. Their new life was about to begin, and they were eager to embrace whatever came next. Izuku landed on a pole, observing a battle between young heroes and villains. He felt intrigued by the action unfolding before him. Venom noted that the superheroes appeared youthful, prompting Izuku to suggest they first investigate whether this universe had a version of his father. Venom questioned Izuku's intentions, to which Izuku explained that since his father possessed powers similar to his own, he planned to absorb him, significantly boosting his abilities and evolving his necrosword. Venom acknowledged that this strategy would indeed make Izuku stronger, enabling him to confront the gods, celestials, and other formidable foes that his father had faced. Izuku anticipated that adversaries from both their dimension and this one would unite against him, and he prepared himself for their arrival. He extended his senses, using his cosmic awareness to locate his father in this dimension, sensing that he was sealed away. Realizing Null was trapped, Izuku expressed his intent to visit this version of his father. They ventured into the realm of symbiotes, where Null was plotting his escape from the seal. Suddenly, Null sensed an overwhelming presence approaching, one that sent chills down his spine. He recognized that this aura was even stronger than his own and felt a dark, menacing energy that resembled his own. As two hands began to pry open the dimensional seal, Null was astonished that someone possessed the power to break through. With a forceful rip, the seal shattered, revealing Izuku in his symbiote suit, a smirk on his face and a dark, calm aura surrounding him. Null realized that Izuku was now stronger than he was, feeling the immense power radiating from him. Izuku introduced himself as the god of darkness, the king in black, and the god of all symbiotes. Null's eyes widened in disbelief, declaring that he was the god of symbiotes. Izuku explained that he hailed from an alternate dimension where he was the successor to Null, who had become the true god of darkness. He added that his counterpart had never been defeated and had not faced the same fate as Null. Null, irritated, questioned Izuku's purpose for coming to his dimension. Izuku confirmed that he needed Null's necrosword. When Null demanded to know why, Izuku revealed his plan to absorb it, enhancing his own sword and abilities significantly. Null's eyes widened in realization as Izuku declared his intention to devour him, promising a tremendous boost to his powers. In an instant, a dark substance enveloped Null, and Izuku felt a surge of strength coursing through him. He grinned, reveling in the newfound power. As he spotted Null's necrosword, he used his own to absorb it, witnessing it glow and transform into a more formidable weapon. With a confident smirk, he spun his sword, feeling its enhanced might and eagerly anticipating the chance to test it out. Meanwhile, the strongest figures from Marvel and DC sensed the disturbance caused by Izuku's overwhelming aura. Dr. Doom felt intrigued, sensing a formidable presence that could alleviate his boredom. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, opened her eyes, acknowledging the arrival of darkness in their dimension. Hela, the goddess of death, noted the powerful energy entering her realm, while Dr. Strange recognized the threat posed by this new force. Dr. Fate, unable to glimpse the future, sensed the danger emanating from this being. In Hell, Trigon sensed that Null's seal had been broken but noted that the presence felt different, exuding an overwhelming darkness that consumed everything in its path. He eagerly anticipated meeting this new entity. Back in New York, Nightwing was engaged in combat against Lex Luthor's goons, assisted by the Flash, Killer Frost, and Supergirl. As some of the goons prepared to attack Nightwing, Killer Frost intervened, freezing them in place. Nightwing expressed his gratitude, and Killer Frost was pleased to help. The Flash swiftly incapacitated the remaining villains, while Supergirl glared at Lex Luthor, ready to confront him. Lex taunted Nightwing, suggesting that just because he had defeated some minor opponents, it didn't mean the fight was over. Nightwing demanded to know where his team was and what Lex had done with them. Moments before, Nightwing had been battling Lex Luthor's henchmen alongside his allies when a portal had suddenly opened beneath them, causing his teammates to vanish. Lex smirked, assuring Nightwing that he would see his friends soon, but first, he had a surprise. A portal opened, revealing Red Skull accompanied by an army of Hydra soldiers and Taskmaster. Another portal followed, bringing forth the Justice League and the Avengers, their eyes glowing red as they were under mind control. Yet another portal opened, and Young Justice emerged, similarly ensnared. Flash realized the gravity of the situation, while Killer Frost demanded to know what had been done to their allies. Red Skull explained that they had caught everyone off guard and placed them under mind control. Just then, Batman appeared, leaping down from a building and confronting Red Skull, demanding the release of their friends and promising a swift end to their plans. Lex laughed, declaring that today was the day they would take over New York City and that they could not defeat him. He added that soon Nightwing would join his friends, snapping his fingers to open yet another portal, through which Doomsday emerged, roaring fiercely. Nightwing lamented the worsening situation, while Batman assessed their odds against the overwhelming forces, including Doomsday, a creature capable of challenging Superman. Kara expressed her frustration and Caitlyn, linked with Killer Frost, urged her to SWH places, fearing for her safety. Frost insisted she could handle it, determined to protect Caitlyn. As Barry unleashed lightning against the Hydra soldiers, he struggled to keep pace with Superman, who retaliated with a powerful strike, sending Barry crashing into a wall. Meanwhile, Batman engaged in combat with Captain America, Iron Man, Red Skull, and Taskmaster, skillfully evading their attacks. Nightwing, on the other hand, was holding his own against multiple foes, using his knowledge of their fighting styles to gain the upper hand. Batman dodged a punch from Red Skull, retaliating with a kick, while also avoiding attacks from Taskmaster and Iron Man. He countered Diana's strike with a swift kick, making a quip about his fighting style being suitable for anyone, regardless of gender. Kara faced Doomsday, only to be struck hard, sending her crashing into a wall. Killer Frost attempted to freeze Doomsday's limbs but was met with a fierce punch just as she prepared to defend herself. Suddenly, a black web ensnared Doomsday's arm, drawing everyone's attention. They watched as a portal opened, and Izuku emerged in his symbiote suit, ready to confront the monstrous threat. He boldly declared his readiness for battle, causing shockwaves among the heroes. Flash commented on Izuku's impressive entrance, noting the aura he radiated. Nightwing turned to Batman, asking if he recognized the newcomer, but Batman admitted he did not know him. Batman felt a mix of emotions emanating from Izuku, sensing both strength and deep sorrow. Red Skull questioned who this new fighter was, while Taskmaster felt an ominous presence from him, indicating that the battle was far from over. It felt as if Izuku was staring into an endless void filled with darkness. Red Skull's presence was overwhelming, and his instincts screamed for him to flee. Kara marveled at the scene, captivated by its intensity. Caitlyn pondered the identity of the newcomer, while Killer Frost expressed her intrigue, acknowledging the impressive entrance he had made. Izuku scanned the area, his gaze landing on Batman, who exuded a menacing and dark aura despite being just a human. Venom noted the palpable aura surrounding Batman, sensing a deep sadness and sorrow emanating from him. Izuku agreed, but focused on the immediate threat before them. Without hesitation, Izuku dashed toward Doomsday, enveloping his fist in a swirling energy of darkness that glowed red and black. He struck Doomsday in the stomach, feeling the resistance of his tough skin. Determined, Izuku increased his power, channeling more energy into his punch. Black lightning crackled around his fist as he unleashed a powerful blow, sending Doomsday crashing into a building. The onlookers gasped in disbelief, rendered speechless by the display of strength. Supergirl broke the silence, expressing her astonishment, while Nightwing and Batman exchanged incredulous glances, acknowledging the rarity of such a feat. Flash noted the sheer power of the man before them, sensing he was unlike anyone they had encountered. Izuku quickly turned his attention to the Hydra soldiers, anger rising within him as memories of his own dimension flooded back. He conjured a sword made of darkness and charged at the soldiers, moving with incredible speed. The heroes, along with Red Skull and Taskmaster, watched in shock as Izuku engaged the Hydra soldiers with precision. Taskmaster was taken aback, while Red Skull demanded answers about this formidable opponent. Batman observed closely, analyzing Izuku's fighting style, noting the efficiency and grace of each movement. Killer Frost and Caitlyn shared their feelings of sadness emanating from Izuku, sensing a deeper pain within him. As the Hydra soldiers attempted to overwhelm him, Izuku dodged their blasts with ease. The soldiers shouted commands to eliminate him, but their efforts were futile. Izuku moved like a blur, dispatching them with swift strikes, leaving the heroes in awe of his capabilities. Red Skull's frustration grew as he realized his highly trained soldiers were no match for Izuku. More soldiers rushed at him, but he effortlessly countered their attacks, his darkness web ensnaring them before he swiftly incapacitated them. The battlefield was littered with defeated soldiers, and the air was thick with tension. The heroes stood in shock, witnessing Izuku's dems over the Hydra forces. As he surveyed the scene, he noticed Red Skull and Taskmaster, along with the mind-controlled heroes, closing in on him. Izuku prepared himself, warming up as he contemplated his next move. Venom remarked on the presence of the Avengers, and Izuku acknowledged the potential involvement of the Fantastic Four and X-Men. With determination, Izuku resolved to confront Red Skull and Taskmaster while sparing the heroes, intending only to incapacitate them. He felt a surge of dark energy envelop him as he faced the mind-controlled heroes, who flinched at his fierce glare. Izuku was ready to engage, eager to demonstrate his strength. The scene shifted to 𝗓𝗏, who observed Izuku from her domain through a crystal ball. She found his actions intriguing, noting his impressive display of power as he prepared to face the heroes after dismantling the Hydra army. 𝗓𝗏 was curious to see how he would handle the challenges ahead. 𝗓𝗏 found herself intrigued by the dark and menacing aura surrounding him, which also carried a sense of sadness, sorrow, and pain. She wondered what he had endured to possess such an aura. Meanwhile, Izuku prepared to confront the heroes, and 𝗵𝘃𝗁 challenged him, demanding to know who he was. Izuku responded that it was none of 𝗵𝘃𝗁's business and that he should be more concerned about surviving their encounter. Taskmaster, eager to prove himself, readied his new suit and brandished his sword and shield, taunting Izuku. Izuku, unfazed, made a quip about Taskmaster's outfit, which only fueled Taskmaster's frustration. Before Taskmaster could retort, Izuku moved with incredible speed, swiftly incapacitating him. The sight shocked everyone present. Izuku then turned his attention to 𝗵𝘃𝗁, using his darkness manipulation to create a dagger and swiftly ending 𝗵𝘃𝗁's life in a flurry of motion. The onlookers were left in awe of Izuku's speed. Flash expressed his astonishment, while Kara speculated that Izuku might rival Barry in speed. Killer Frost and Caitlyn exchanged worried glances, and Batman noted Izuku's ruthless efficiency. Nightwing remarked on Izuku's unusual approach. As Wonder Woman launched a series of attacks, Izuku skillfully dodged and countered, landing a powerful blow that knocked her out. Venom questioned whether Izuku was going easy on the heroes, to which Izuku confirmed that he had plans for the Avengers. As Cyborg and Iron Man fired energy blasts, Izuku effortlessly dodged and countered, striking both heroes with precision and sending them crashing into a wall. Superman charged at him, with Thor following closely behind, throwing his hammer. Izuku seized Mjolnir with his darkness web and hurled it back at Thor, knocking him out. When Superman unleashed his heat vision, Izuku swiftly intervened, redirecting the attack to avoid harming innocent bystanders. He then ensnared Superman with webs of darkness, immobilizing him. With a burst of speed, Izuku delivered a powerful kick to Superman's face, who retaliated with a punch that sent Izuku sliding back. Impressed, Izuku acknowledged Superman's strength. As Superman attempted to crush Izuku's head, Izuku used his momentum to slam Superman into the ground, rendering him unconscious. Noticing Young Justice rushing toward him, Izuku prepared for another round. He declared that playtime was over and coated a stick in darkness energy, blitzing through the young heroes and knocking them out one by one. The Avengers charged at him next, but Izuku countered with a series of strikes that incapacitated them, leaving them in pain. Kara marveled at his speed and strength, while Killer Frost and Nightwing expressed their confusion about his identity. Batman analyzed Izuku's fighting style, noting his incredible control and precision in targeting vital areas. The remaining heroes, still under mind control, attacked Izuku simultaneously. He took a stance, compressing the air around him before releasing it with enough force to send them flying. He created a shield of wind to protect himself, impressing Kara and Caitlyn, who marveled at his abilities. As some heroes recovered and charged at him again, Izuku sighed and enhanced his darkness energy, blitzing them with astonishing speed. Everyone watched in disbelief as he dispatched the remaining heroes, leaving them unconscious. 𝗓𝗏 observed from a distance, impressed by Izuku's combat skills and calculated movements. She was eager to learn more about the man behind the mask and speculated about his muscular physique. Wanda, also watching, admired Izuku's skills, noting that he might surpass Batman in hand-to-hand combat. She recognized his mastery over darkness and looked forward to meeting him. After defeating the Avengers and the Justice League, Izuku stretched, feeling liberated after the intense battle. Lex, in disbelief, demanded to know who Izuku was. Izuku cryptically replied that it was classified, but he had intended to eliminate Lex as well. Just as he was about to strike, Batman intervened, urging him to spare Lex. Izuku reluctantly agreed, warning that any future chaos caused by Lex would result in dire consequences. Batman recognized the seriousness of Izuku's promise, understanding that he was not making a mere threat. Izuku was asked to reveal his identity and origin. He responded that it was classified information but decided to make an exception this time. He explained that he was from another dimension. Turning to Batman, who appeared less muscular than him, he introduced himself as Spider-Man. Batman's eyes widened in surprise, prompting him to question how Izuku knew his name. Izuku pointed out that Batman wore a bat suit and was a man, deducing that his superhero name must be Batman. He noted that, judging by Batman's expression, he had guessed correctly. Izuku complimented Batman's name, stating it was cool and not cringeworthy like others. He then turned his attention to Killer Frost, assuming her name based on her striking appearance. She blushed at the compliment, wondering if he truly thought she was appealing. Izuku announced that he would take his leave, but just then, the Flash arrived and quickly placed cuffs on him. Batman explained that they couldn't let him go until they gathered information about why he had defeated the Hydra soldiers, whether he knew the Avengers, and his presence in their dimension. The Flash added that he was curious about how much aura Izuku harvested daily. Killer Frost rolled her eyes at the Flash's enthusiasm, while Kara agreed that Izuku was indeed impressive. Izuku playfully remarked on being blessed by the presence of two appealing women, which made both Kara and Killer Frost blush. Batman thought to himself that Izuku was quite charming, while the Flash noted his charisma. Nightwing, who was holding a knocked-out Lex Luthor, acknowledged Izuku's appeal as well. Izuku teased that if they wanted to catch him, they would have to do better than that. He then raised his hands, revealing that the cuffs were no longer on him. With a smirk, he advised them to watch his hands instead of his mouth. In an instant, he vanished, reappearing atop a nearby building, leaving everyone in shock. Izuku bid farewell to the heroes, disappearing into the shadows. Batman acknowledged his skills, noting that he was impressive. Kara expressed her curiosity about the identity behind the mask, while Killer Frost shared the same sentiment. Batman suggested they return to base to uncover the mystery of the masked figure, and everyone agreed. Meanwhile, Izuku stood atop a building, his mask removed. He found this dimension intriguing, filled with new heroes and villains to confront. Venom confirmed that their heroes were present as well. Izuku admitted he wanted to eliminate them but hesitated, unsure if they were like the Avengers from his own dimension. Venom encouraged him to focus on saving lives and finding a place to stay. Izuku contemplated doing vigilante work instead of joining any superhero teams, recalling the betrayal he faced in the past. Determined to work alone, he envisioned starting his own company for a fresh beginning. Venom suggested that perhaps he could find someone to love in this dimension, but Izuku felt destined to be alone, believing no one would love someone like him after all the heartbreak he had endured. He lamented that it was both his curse and destiny to always be solitary. Venom felt pain to see Izuku in such a state, hoping that someday someone would mend his broken heart. As rain poured down, Izuku stood resolute, his eyes glowing with determination. He was ready to return to his mission. Months passed, during which Izuku continued his vigilante work, eliminating villains he deemed unworthy of life. His actions saved many, garnering both support and fear from the public. Crime rates in New York plummeted due to his presence, surpassing the efforts of the Justice League, Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four combined. Despite multiple attempts by the Justice League and Avengers to confront him, Izuku always outmaneuvered them. Even the Fantastic Four and X-Men found themselves overwhelmed. During these encounters, he occasionally flirted with Kara and Killer Frost, finding them attractive. Over time, Izuku grew colder and more ruthless toward villains who committed unforgivable acts, ensuring the safety of New York citizens. He also established his own company, Parker Industries, which quickly rivaled Wayne Enterprises and Stark Industries. His firm specialized in creating technology to improve the world, curing millions of illnesses. Within months, Izuku became a billionaire, known for his strict standards and pursuit of perfection. Despite numerous attempts from models and actresses to win his affection, he remained uninterested in relationships, having made it clear to the media. Izuku formed a friendship with Bruce Wayne, collaborating on various projects, though Bruce remained unaware of Izuku's true identity as Spider-Man, while Izuku had discovered Bruce's secret as Batman. The scene shifted to Izuku in his mansion, waking up early in the morning. He felt refreshed after a good nap. Venom emerged from his shoulder, and Izuku greeted him with a smile. After stretching and completing his morning routine, he headed to his home gym for a 3-hour workout. Following that, he made himself some tea while listening to music. Venom expressed his hunger, playfully threatening to eat Izuku's organs. Izuku retorted that he would not hesitate to defend himself. Their banter continued, with Venom insisting he was not a parasite, while Izuku chuckled at his antics. After preparing breakfast, Izuku checked his schedule for the day, noting that he needed to welcome his new assistant, who had impressed him during the interview process. Venom remarked on Izuku's workaholic tendencies, suggesting that an assistant might help him manage his time better. Izuku explained that he had to keep the city safe and run his company, emphasizing that villains needed to be dealt with permanently. He acknowledged the Justice League's heroism but expressed uncertainty about the Avengers. After a quick shower, Izuku stood before his wardrobe, contemplating what to wear for the day. Today, Venom suggested something black since it was Izuku's favorite color. Izuku agreed, taking out his black suit and preparing to wear it. He smiled as he adjusted his appearance in the mirror, admiring how majestic and handsome he looked. He thought to himself that he looked good in black, affirming that it was indeed the best color. Venom commented on Izuku's obsession with black and expressed confusion over why he rejected so many famous actresses and models, who were undoubtedly his type. Izuku explained that they were only interested in him because of his looks, wealth, intelligence, and success, claiming he was more accomplished than Tony Stark and Reed Richards. Venom noted that Izuku and Bruce shared similarities, both being Sigma males. Izuku pointed out that Bruce was no longer a playboy. He had found someone he loved. It surprised them both that Tony was married and had a daughter. When Venom asked who Tony's wife was, Izuku chuckled and revealed it was Pepper Potts, and their daughter was named Morgan Stark. Venom was surprised, recalling that in their dimension, Pepper disliked Tony, making it unexpected for him to be married to her in another reality. Curious about Bruce's love life, Izuku shared that Bruce's wife was Selina Wayne, also known as Catwoman, whom he described as a better and cooler version of Black Cat. He mentioned having spoken to her once, finding her kind, sweet, and caring, and noted how much she loved Bruce. Venom then inquired about Izuku's own romantic prospects. Izuku lamented that he was destined to be alone, as every relationship he had experienced had ended poorly. Venom was taken aback to learn that Mary Jane was not the only girl Izuku had dated. He recounted being asked out by various superhero girls, but none of those relationships had worked out, leading to heartbreak. Izuku confided in Venom that the heartbreaks had caused him to lose faith in finding love again, especially the one with Mary Jane, which had hurt him the most. Venom expressed sympathy, realizing how difficult it must have been for Izuku. He encouraged Izuku, recalling Aunt May's words about the girl waiting for her Spider-Man to swing by, assuring him that he would meet her soon. As the conversation wrapped up, Izuku decided it was time to leave. He headed to his garage and chose his black G-Wagon to drive to his company. Upon arriving, he was greeted by his security team, who lined up to welcome him. He returned their greetings warmly, hoping everyone was well on that lovely morning. Entering the building, he was met by his employees and staff, who also greeted him. He inquired about the progress of their tasks, and they reassured him that everything was going smoothly. One employee handed him reports about an upcoming project with Wayne Enterprises, and another informed him that Tony Stark wanted to meet to discuss a potential partnership. Izuku agreed to the meeting, instructing them to arrange it for Friday. As he settled into his office, he began reviewing the bank statements and the company's progress. A knock on the door interrupted his focus, and he anticipated the arrival of his new assistant. When the door opened, he was taken aback by the stunning beauty of the girl who entered. Her long, curly brown hair and radiant chocolate brown eyes captivated him, leaving him momentarily speechless. Even Venom was impressed, thinking that she resembled a goddess. The girl introduced herself as Caitlyn Snow, expressing her honor in meeting him. Izuku encouraged her to drop the formalities and call him by his first name. Caitlyn agreed, sharing her excitement about working together as his personal assistant. Izuku complimented her name, and Caitlyn blushed at the praise. He acknowledged her impressive career achievements and asked why she chose to work at Parker Industries. Caitlyn explained that she was drawn to the company's values and professionalism, and Bruce had recommended her, knowing she could handle the demands of working with a workaholic like Izuku. With that, Izuku welcomed Caitlyn to Parker Industries, extending his hand for a shake. She accepted with a smile, grateful for the opportunity. As they exchanged pleasantries, Caitlyn couldn't help but notice how charming Izuku looked when he smiled, contrasting with the cold and strict image she had heard about him. Caitlyn observed Izuku, noting how handsome he appeared. Izuku expressed his hope that they could achieve great things together. The scene transitioned to a gathering of the Avengers, Justice League, X-Men, and the Fantastic Four, who had convened to discuss recent events. Batman addressed the group, confirming that their meeting was centered around the vigilante known as Spider-Man. Cyclops questioned Spider-Man's significance, dismissing him as merely a man in a black suit. Batman retorted, reminding Cyclops of the numerous times Spider-Man had bested him in combat and urged him to remain silent. He explained that while Spider-Man was a hero who saved lives, his methods were concerning. Wonder Woman speculated that it was the way he dealt with villains that posed a problem. Batman confirmed this, stating that Spider-Man often left villains severely injured, and some he deemed unworthy were eliminated. Flash pointed out that Batman employed similar tactics, albeit without killing. Iron Man criticized Spider-Man's methods as ruthless and cold, but Batman defended him, acknowledging that while some villains did not deserve to live, they all deserved a second chance. Cyborg agreed, noting that their attempts to confront Spider-Man had ended poorly. Reed shared that they had fought him as well, remarking on how Spider-Man seemed to anticipate their every move. Johnny added that Spider-Man had easily overpowered Ben and outsmarted Reed, who was known as the smartest man in the world. Batman claimed that title for himself, asserting that as long as he was alive, Reed would not hold it. Ben expressed his frustration at being made to look weak, while Captain America shared his experience of being outmaneuvered during their hand-to-hand combat. Thor recounted how Spider-Man had caught Mjolnir and thrown it back with incredible force. Banner mentioned that even the Hulk had been overwhelmed, leaving him reluctant to fight. Captain Marvel noted that none of their attacks seemed to affect Spider-Man. Hawkeye pointed out that only Batman and the Justice League had managed to inflict any damage on Spider-Man, suggesting that he harbored a particular disdain for them while respecting the League, especially Batman. Flash remarked on Spider-Man's flirtations with Supergirl and Killer Frost, to which Supergirl responded that it was not her fault he found them attractive. Wolverine shared his instinctual urge to flee whenever he was near Spider-Man, while Jean sensed a strong animosity directed at them, except for the Justice League. Emma attempted to read Spider-Man's mind but was met with an overwhelming darkness that instilled fear in her. Batman then presented footage of Spider-Man's encounters with various villains, showcasing his incredible feats of strength, speed, and combat skills. The group watched in awe as he saved a helicopter from crashing, lifted a building with one hand, and stopped a speeding train. Batman concluded that Spider-Man was likely still holding back and suggested that he and the League should attempt to communicate with him during their next encounter. He warned the others to stay out of the way, as Spider-Man might pose a serious threat to them. Batman speculated that Spider-Man's hatred for them stemmed from experiences in his own dimension, where their counterparts may have wronged him. With his orders clear, Batman dismissed the group, leaving him alone with his thoughts as he removed his mask. He reflected on Spider-Man's intense animosity towards the Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four, recognizing that Spider-Man possessed knowledge of their weaknesses and fighting styles, making him a formidable opponent. Batman concluded that Spider-Man was well prepared and had likely devised plans of his own, making him a truly impressive adversary. Caitlyn had been excelling in her tasks at the company, earning the admiration of her colleagues. She was always ready to lend a helping hand, and her bond with Izuku deepened as she took care of him, ensuring he had time to rest. The staff began to speculate that they might end up together, noting how Izuku only smiled when Caitlyn was around, though he remained oblivious to it. Venom was pleased to see Izuku regaining his smile and opening up more, but only to Caitlyn. One day, Izuku was focused on his laptop when Caitlyn entered his office. She greeted him and mentioned that he seemed busy. Izuku confirmed he was working on blueprints for new technology. Caitlyn then placed a stack of papers on his desk, asking him to sign each one. Izuku hesitated, feeling overwhelmed by the amount of work. Caitlyn insisted he loved working, so this should be easy for him. With a resigned sigh, he agreed and Caitlyn left to get coffee, promising to help him. As Izuku leaned back in his chair, Venom emerged from his shoulder, commenting on how Caitlyn sometimes acted like a wife. Izuku dismissed the idea, insisting they were just friends. Venom pointed out that friends don't take care of each other in such a way, and he noticed how Izuku gazed at Caitlyn while she worked. Izuku remained silent, avoiding the topic. Caitlyn returned with 2 cups of coffee, and Izuku tried to act nonchalant. She asked if he had been talking to someone, sensing another voice outside the door. Izuku quickly denied it, and Caitlyn let it go for now. She handed him his coffee, and they resumed their paperwork. Caitlyn couldn't help but admire Izuku's face, finding him attractive. Killer Frost, Caitlyn's inner voice, teased her about her feelings for Izuku. Caitlyn blushed, insisting they were just friends, but Frost pointed out that Izuku only smiled around her. Caitlyn defended her friend's stance on relationships, recalling how Izuku had made it clear he wasn't interested in dating. Frost encouraged Caitlyn to ask Izuku to hang out, suggesting it could be more than just friendship. Caitlyn hesitated, feeling unsure about bothering him. As they worked, Izuku noticed Caitlyn biting her lower lip, a sign that something was bothering her. He inquired about it, and she initially brushed it off. Eventually, she admitted that Frost had teased her about not having a life. Izuku chuckled, pointing out that their lives were quite similar, filled with work and little else. Caitlyn smiled, realizing they were quite the pair. Feeling a warm connection, Caitlyn decided to ask Izuku if he was free that evening. He confirmed he had no plans and was open to hanging out. Caitlyn's excitement was palpable as she texted him the location. Izuku agreed to meet her at 7, and they exchanged cheerful goodbyes. As Caitlyn prepared for their outing, Frost helped her choose an outfit. Meanwhile, Izuku arrived at the bar 30 minutes early, watching others perform and sing, unaware of the special evening ahead. Izuku was waiting for Caitlyn, looking impressive, and he noticed the girls in the bar glancing at him as if he were a treat. Venom commented on Izuku's appearance, suggesting that Caitlyn would surely be impressed by his looks. Izuku acknowledged Venom's compliment, attributing his charm to a natural allure. Venom remarked that with his looks, Izuku could have pursued a modeling career instead of business, and he noted that many likely envied Izuku's handsomeness. Izuku shrugged off the envy, confident that no one could match him. As he checked the time, Izuku wondered if Caitlyn had arrived yet. Just then he spotted her entering the bar, stunning in an appealing black dress. He couldn't help but stare, and Caitlyn noticed his gaze, finding him equally attractive. Killer Frost, observing from a distance, commented on how Izuku could make even simple attire look appealing, while Caitlyn agreed, playfully teasing Frost in response. Caitlyn approached Izuku, who continued to admire her. She asked him what was wrong, noticing his intense gaze. Izuku complimented her, saying she looked gorgeous in her dress, which made her blush. Caitlyn playfully remarked that she didn't always dress like a high school principal, to which Izuku insisted that she looked appealing no matter what. Caitlyn smiled at Izuku's sweet words and mentioned that since he had given her a nickname, it was only fair she returned the favor. When she suggested calling him Aizu or Zuzu, Izuku's eyes widened in surprise, and he felt a wave of nostalgia as Caitlyn reminded him of someone from his past. He wiped away a few tears that had begun to fall, prompting Caitlyn to ask if he was okay. Izuku assured her that he loved the nickname but admitted it reminded him of his late aunt, who had raised him after his parents passed away. Caitlyn inquired if his aunt was still in the city, and Izuku sadly replied that she had passed away, leaving him feeling alone in the world. Caitlyn, sensing his pain, took his hand and gently wiped away his tears, reassuring him that he wasn't alone and that she would always be by his side. Venom added his own support, reminding Izuku that he had a friend in Caitlyn. Grateful, Izuku thanked Caitlyn, and they shifted the conversation to what they should do next. Caitlyn suggested ordering food, and they began to enjoy their meal while getting to know each other better. Izuku listened intently as Caitlyn shared her own hardships, including the loss of her father and her ex-fiancée, Ronnie. He was amazed at how she remained positive despite her struggles. Izuku reflected on Caitlyn's resilience, admiring her ability to smile through adversity. Venom nudged him to consider sharing his own past with Caitlyn, but Izuku hesitated, fearing it might change their friendship. He resolved to wait for the right moment to reveal his story. As the night progressed, Caitlyn indulged a bit too much and became tipsy. She excused herself to the restroom, and while she was gone, another girl approached Izuku, introducing herself as Felicia. She flirted with him and handed him her number, which he crumpled in his hand after she left, feeling uneasy about the attention. Suddenly, Caitlyn returned, clearly in high spirits and calling for Izuku to join her on stage. Despite his attempts to signal her to stop, she was determined to showcase their fun. The crowd cheered for Izuku, and he reluctantly made his way to the stage, where Caitlyn encouraged him to join her in singing. After their performance, they returned to their seats, and Izuku noticed Caitlyn's condition had worsened. When she expressed that she didn't feel well, he quickly took her outside, where she became ill. He held her hair back and comforted her, suggesting they head home. Realizing she was too intoxicated to direct him, he decided to take her to his place instead. As they made their way to his car, Izuku helped Caitlyn into the back seat and covered her with his coat, driving carefully to his mansion while checking on her to ensure she was okay. Izuku felt grateful that he couldn't get drunk, otherwise, they would have spent the entire night in that bar. He worried about Caitlyn, thinking that someone might have taken advantage of her since she was intoxicated. She was far too appealing for her own good. Venom chimed in, noting that anyone who tried would not get far, as Izuku would have likely stopped them before they could even approach Caitlyn. Izuku acknowledged Venom's point, realizing he was right. Upon arriving home, Izuku helped Caitlyn to his room, where she removed her shoes. She asked if he was going to call the girl who had given him her number. Izuku admitted he had never considered it, thinking he wouldn't call her anyway since he hadn't even taken her number. Caitlyn pointed out that he had let her slip away because he believed he didn't deserve happiness. Izuku thought it was probably for the best that he didn't see her again, fearing he might act recklessly. Caitlyn insisted that he needed saving too. As she struggled with her clothes, Izuku turned away to give her some privacy. Caitlyn, unable to manage on her own, asked for his help. He closed his eyes and assisted her, realizing she only had one set of clothes. He offered her one of his oversized shirts and shorts, which made her look even cuter. Caitlyn playfully remarked about him saving her from her dress, and Izuku chuckled, telling her to get into bed. Caitlyn teased him, suggesting it was okay if he had peaked, as he deserved it for all the good he did. He reminded her to drink plenty of water. Grateful for the evening, Caitlyn thanked him and expressed her appreciation. As Izuku prepared to leave, Caitlyn held his hand, asking him to stay with her until she fell asleep. He agreed and she smirked, pulling him onto the bed to cuddle against his chest. She declared that he would sleep with her, and he complied, thinking she was cute and recalling his aunt's advice about not upsetting a drunk woman. As they settled in, Caitlyn wished him good night, and he returned the sentiment, hoping she would have sweet dreams. Soon, both of them fell asleep, content in each other's presence. Caitlyn awoke to find herself in Izuku's room, her head pounding. She groaned, confused about her surroundings. Killer Frost, her inner voice, teased her about waking up. Caitlyn realized she was in Izuku's house and panicked, wanting to know what had happened the previous night. Killer Frost explained how she had pulled Izuku into bed and how they had slept in each other's arms, leaving Caitlyn blushing at the memory of Izuku changing her clothes while keeping his eyes closed. Killer Frost encouraged Caitlyn to confess her feelings to Izuku, suggesting it was time to be honest. Caitlyn hesitated, unsure if he would accept her feelings, but Killer Frost insisted that the only way to find out was to talk to him. Determined, Caitlyn headed downstairs, noticing a picture frame of Izuku's Aunt May and Uncle Ben on a nearby table. As she entered the kitchen, the delicious aroma of breakfast filled the air. Izuku greeted her with a cheerful good morning, and Caitlyn replied that she was fine, though her head hurt a little. He invited her to sit down and enjoy breakfast. As she looked at the food he had prepared, 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧 commented on how talented Izuku was, not just in heroics but also in cooking. Caitlyn felt lucky to have him in her life. After finishing breakfast, Caitlyn decided it was time to learn more about Izuku's past before confessing her feelings. She asked him if he could share about his history, expressing concern for the pain he seemed to carry. She noted that he rarely spoke to anyone except her and often seemed to tolerate conversations rather than engage. Caitlyn urged him to open up, assuring him that she wanted to share his burdens and would always be by his side. Izuku listened, understanding her worry, and prepared to share his story. Izuku listened to Caitlyn's words, but he had a question weighing on his mind. He wondered why she cared so deeply for someone like him and struggled to understand the emotions she expressed. Caitlyn felt a rush of feelings, realizing she couldn't simply say that she wanted to be by his side for the rest of her life. After a long time, she had finally fallen in love, and she was determined not to let it slip away. 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧 encouraged Caitlyn to share her feelings. Caitlyn took a deep breath and confessed her love for Izuku. After losing Rani, she believed she would never experience love again until Izuku entered her life. She admired his kindness, his caring nature, and his willingness to help others, even when he didn't show it. Seeing him in pain broke her heart, and she wanted to spend her life ensuring his happiness. She promised to always be there for him, ready to share his burdens. Izuku was taken aback, unable to find the words to respond. Caitlyn, feeling disheartened by his silence, stood up to leave, thinking he didn't share her feelings. She reassured him that it was okay if he didn't feel the same way. In that moment, Izuku recalled the advice his Uncle Ben and Aunt May had given him when he was younger. Uncle Ben had told him to always keep the girl of his dreams happy and love her as he loved Aunt May. Aunt May had emphasized the importance of finding someone who truly cared for him, someone willing to stand by his side through thick and thin. Determined not to let this opportunity slip away, Izuku quickly shot a web of darkness toward Caitlyn, pulling her close. As she spun in surprise, realization dawned on her that Izuku was Spider-Man. Before she could say anything, he kissed her passionately, and she responded with equal fervor. They shared a moment of deep connection, lost in each other's embrace. Izuku lifted Caitlyn and carried her to his room, where they continued to share their affection. In another dimension, Mary Jane and the other girls Izuku had dated felt a pang of heartache, sensing that he had moved on. Back with Izuku and Caitlyn, they lay together under a blanket, Caitlyn resting her head on his chest. She looked up to see him smiling warmly at her, and she kissed his forehead. Caitlyn expressed her delight in their experience, and Izuku agreed, saying he enjoyed every moment. They confirmed their relationship, and Izuku felt it was time to share his past with her. He couldn't keep secrets from his girlfriend. He decided to show her his memories, revealing the struggles and pain he had endured as Spider-Man. Caitlyn was left speechless, tears welling in her eyes as she absorbed the weight of his experiences. She marveled at his resilience, asking why he continued to fight despite everything he had sacrificed. Izuku explained that it was both his gift and his curse, reminding her of his uncle's words, "With great power comes great responsibility." Caitlyn understood now why he held a grudge against certain heroes from other dimensions. She playfully asked if she could take revenge on Mary Jane, and Izuku felt a chill at her smile, sensing both sweetness and a hint of danger. Caitlyn reassured him that he was never alone. She, Venom, and Frost would always stand by his side. As she transformed into 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧, Izuku was shocked but quickly grasped the situation. 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧 explained their unique bond, and Izuku realized that Caitlyn's feelings and experiences were shared with her counterpart. They were truly connected in a way he had never expected. 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧 had always admired Spider-Man, surprised by how handsome he appeared without his mask. It made her feel a strong attraction toward him. Izuku felt a slight blush creeping onto his cheeks as he processed the situation. He realized he was now dating both 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧 and Caitlyn. 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧 confirmed that Caitlyn would be fine with sharing, as she had developed feelings for him too. The question lingered in the air, and Frost playfully positioned herself above Izuku, smirking at him. She challenged him, asking if he could handle both of them. Izuku took it as a challenge, and with a confident grin, he flipped Frost around, looking down at her with determination. He declared it was time for round 2, leaning in to kiss her neck, eliciting a soft sound of pleasure from her. They spent the next few hours together, deepening their bond, and Izuku marked Caitlyn, granting her a significant boost in power and effectively making her immortal. She was thrilled to know she could be with Izuku for the rest of her life. Afterward, they took a shower to freshen up, and Caitlyn decided to move in with Izuku. They visited her apartment to gather her belongings, planning to spend a relaxing day together, cuddling and watching movies. On the couch, they settled in, enjoying each other's company while Venom munched on popcorn nearby. He remarked that Optimus Prime was the greatest of all time, to which Izuku and Caitlyn agreed, praising the character's iconic lines. Caitlyn then posed a question about the possibility of alternate versions of Aunt May and Uncle Ben existing in this universe. Venom supported her idea, prompting Izuku to reflect on the matter. He speculated that if they existed, Spider-Man would have been here already, but he had arrived in this dimension due to Uncle Ben's influence. Caitlyn encouraged him to check if Aunt May was present in this universe, and she affectionately kissed his cheek, making him smile as he rested his head in her lap. He expressed his love for her, and she reciprocated the sentiment, creating a warm atmosphere between them. Suddenly, Izuku found himself in a void, where it was raining. He was startled to see his past self in his old red and blue suit. His past self acknowledged the growth Izuku had experienced, noting his newfound strength and handsomeness. They exchanged words about moving on from the past and finding true happiness. Izuku agreed, feeling that after all the suffering he had finally discovered joy. His past self reminded him to always protect and love Caitlyn, emphasizing that she was a keeper. Izuku promised he would. His past self encouraged him to follow his instincts and pursue what felt right, assuring him that they had finally found their true love. They both understood that powerful adversaries would come, but they needed to remain strong, as losing was akin to dying. With newfound clarity, Izuku embraced the idea that even the strongest deserve love, crediting Caitlyn for opening his heart. As the void transformed into an appealing field, the rain ceased, and Izuku felt a sense of peace. His past self turned into a purple orb and entered Izuku, symbolizing his acceptance of the past and his commitment to moving forward. Emerging from his mindscape, Izuku noticed Caitlyn was missing. Venom informed him that she was preparing food, sensing a change in Izuku's aura, indicating he had found closure. Caitlyn called out that the food was ready, and they headed to the kitchen, where Izuku took a seat as she placed the meal before him. He then posed a question to Caitlyn and Frost, who were now one entity. Frost's eyes glowed as she responded, intrigued by his inquiry about merging their identities into one. Caitlyn was surprised, and Izuku explained that this would combine their personalities while retaining their powers. Frost realized that her ice abilities felt stronger, confirming that the merge would enhance their capabilities. After some deliberation, both Caitlyn and Frost decided to go ahead with the merge. Izuku used his reality manipulation to combine their souls into one. Caitlyn felt revitalized, declaring that her hero name would now simply be Frost. Izuku complimented her new appearance, which blended white and brown hair with hints of blue in her eyes. They shared a tender kiss, filled with love and care, before returning to their movie marathon. As they switched to the news, they noticed a villain attacking the city. Izuku stood up, ready to take action. Caitlyn asked if she could join him, but he insisted she rest, teasing her about the reason she was tired. Izuku smiled as he kissed her cheek, transforming into his black suit before leaping out the window and beginning to swing through the city. Caitlyn approached the window and watched him swing, a smile spreading across her face as she thought to herself how much she adored him. Izuku shouted with excitement as he swung through the air, greeting the city with enthusiasm. He could have easily teleported to his destination, but he cherished the thrill of swinging, one of his favorite activities. Upon landing on a building, he spotted the police engaged in a fierce battle against a mutated creature resembling a giant crocodile. He observed the scene, noting how much more formidable this creature appeared compared to the lizard, with its massive jaws capable of devouring anything in its path. Curiosity piqued, he prepared to intervene. As he jumped from the building, he declared it was time to get to work. He noticed a striking policewoman, a detective, firing at the creature, but her bullets seemed ineffective. The situation was dire, and the creature was in a frenzied state, overpowering the officers around it. Just as the creature was about to strike the last detective, a appealing blonde, a voice rang out. Everyone turned to see Izuku charging toward the creature. He swung in and delivered a powerful kick to its face, sending it crashing into a building. He then checked on the detective, ensuring she was okay. She thanked him, and he urged her to find safety. She introduced herself as 𝗵𝘃𝗵𝗏, and Izuku complimented her name, causing her to blush before she hurried away to safety. Izuku focused on the creature he had just attacked, narrowing his eyes in determination. He noted the similarities between this creature and the lizard, but it appeared stronger and larger, likely the result of some experiments. Venom reminded him to prioritize the battle at hand. Izuku agreed, ready to take action. The creature emerged from the wreckage, roaring and charging at him with claws extended. Izuku skillfully dodged its attacks, backflipping and landing a kick to its face. He followed up with a punch, then ensnared the creature with his darkness web, slamming it to the ground. As it roared in pain, Izuku taunted it, asking if it hurt. The creature retaliated with a tail swipe, sending him sliding back. Undeterred, he punched it again, causing it to crash into another building. He noticed Patty rushing toward a building to save a little girl, and the creature charged at her. Izuku quickly positioned himself in front of the creature, delivering a punch that caused it to stagger. He began webbing the creature up, moving with agility and precision, ensuring it couldn't escape. Izuku playfully remarked about his webbing technique, expressing his enjoyment of creating his masterpiece. As he finished, he struck a pose, unaware that a news team was capturing the entire event live for television. Caitlyn watched from afar, giggling as she observed his movements, finally understanding why he was called Spider-Man. Meanwhile, Izuku contemplated the creature, recalling Dr. Connors and strategizing how to handle the situation. Venom urged him to finish the creature, but Izuku decided to try calming it down first, knowing that if that failed, he would have to take more drastic measures. He began taunting the creature, which roared in frustration, struggling against the webs that bound it. As the scene unfolded, Izuku observed a frenzied 𝗕𝗏𝗁 struggling against the unyielding webs that ensnared him. With a sigh, he declared that the creature would not escape, as the bindings were unbreakable unless he chose to release them. Concentrating, Izuku touched his forehead and whispered a command, causing 𝗕𝗏𝗁 to fall unconscious. Sensing the approach of the Avengers, Izuku sighed heavily, realizing they were on their way. He grinned beneath his mask, contemplating a little game with them. He seized 𝗕𝗏𝗁 by the back of his head and activated his camouflage, concealing his presence and aura. As the Avengers arrived, they surveyed the devastation left in 𝗕𝗏𝗁's wake. Iron Man expressed frustration at their tardiness, while Captain America noted that Batman would be furious upon returning from dealing with villains in China. Hawkeye acknowledged the fearsome nature of Batman's anger, and Captain Marvel questioned the whereabouts of 𝗕𝗏𝗁. Black Widow spotted Patty assisting some civilians and approached her for information. Patty, visibly upset, explained that 𝗕𝗏𝗁 had emerged from the sewers in a berserk state, attacking innocent people. She lamented the loss of life and the destruction caused, emphasizing that many had perished while the Avengers were delayed. However, she noted that Spider-Man had arrived just in time to subdue 𝗕𝗏𝗁. Curious, Black Widow inquired about Spider-Man's current location, to which Patty replied that he had vanished after knocking out 𝗕𝗏𝗁. Black Widow relayed this information to the others, prompting Banner to reflect on how their delay had cost lives. Iron Man mentioned their struggle against Dr. Doom, while Falcon raised the question of 𝗕𝗏𝗁's whereabouts. Suddenly, Izuku revealed himself, dragging 𝗕𝗏𝗁 behind him. The air thickened with a menacing presence, causing the Avengers to feel a palpable dread. Izuku approached, presenting the subdued 𝗕𝗏𝗁 as the target they sought. Banner attempted to react but was swiftly knocked out by Izuku's strike. As Izuku unleashed his bloodlust, the Avengers found themselves on their knees, struggling to breathe. He raised an arm, channeling dark energy that transformed into a brilliant white light. He acknowledged the Justice League as true heroes, expressing his admiration and respect for them. He then issued a challenge to the Avengers. They had until the end of the week to prove themselves worthy of the title of heroes. Failure would result in dire consequences. Izuku's gaze shifted to Tony Stark, warning him that his daughter might face danger if he and his team did not succeed. Tony's eyes widened in shock, realizing the weight of Izuku's words. Venom, sensing the tension, remarked on the situation, while Izuku clarified that he had no intention of harming Morgan, Tony's daughter. He had met her before and found her adorable, using the threat to motivate Tony. Turning his attention back to Patty, Izuku complimented her bravery and beauty, acknowledging her as a true hero. He offered her a reward for her heroic actions, inviting her to ask for anything she desired. The onlookers were astonished by his declaration, especially as it was being broadcast live. Patty, surprised, asked if he could bring back those who had lost their lives. Izuku, recognizing her kind heart, agreed to her request, knowing it might provoke 𝗕𝗏, but he felt unconcerned about the consequences. Steam of death surrounded her, for she was the goddess of death, destined to claim those souls meant for her. Venom warned that if Izuku continued on his path, she would uncover his identity. Unfazed, Izuku welcomed her approach with open arms. His hand began to glow red, enveloped in a menacing aura as he activated his reality manipulation. He declared that all those who had recently perished would return to life. As he spoke, the dead bodies began to radiate a white light, illuminating the city. The light enveloped the area, and soon, everyone who had died was alive again. Shock and disbelief washed over the crowd, leaving them speechless. Izuku smiled, having granted them their reward, and expressed his hope that they were happy. Patty, overwhelmed with emotion, hugged him tightly, tears in her eyes. She thanked him repeatedly for restoring the lives of those lost. In a surprising moment, Patty lifted Izuku's mask slightly and kissed him, leaving him momentarily stunned. As she broke the kiss, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Izuku realized Caitlyn was watching and felt a wave of dread wash over him, knowing he would face her wrath upon returning home. He thought to himself that he was in trouble. Caitlyn, with a sweet smile, seemed to relish the idea of his impending fate. Izuku felt a chill run down his spine, knowing she was plotting his punishment. He bid farewell to Patty, playfully commenting on how her lips tasted like strawberries before swinging away, leaving her blushing behind him. He landed in an alleyway and transformed out of his suit, snapping his fingers as he glowed briefly before settling into a fresh, casual outfit. He contemplated whether Aunt May had a counterpart in this dimension, admiring his appearance. Approaching his old house, he felt a wave of nerves wash over him as he stood at the door. Venom urged him to ring the doorbell, but Izuku hesitated, unsure of how to explain that he was her nephew from another dimension. Venom reminded him of the impact Aunt May's death had on him before Caitlyn helped mend his broken heart. Taking a deep breath, he knocked on the door instead. A voice called from inside, and the door opened to reveal a woman he hadn't expected. She greeted him, and he introduced himself as Izuku Black Parker. The woman, Rio Morales, recognized him as the famous billionaire everyone had been talking about. Internally, she was thrilled to meet someone so impressive, noting his handsome and majestic appearance. Izuku inquired about May Parker, and Rio fell silent, causing him to worry about her well-being. She eventually invited him in to share more about her. As he entered, he noticed pictures of Miles and Rio, as well as Jefferson Morales, confirming that Miles existed in this dimension too. Rio offered him a seat and went to prepare tea and snacks. Miles soon appeared, noticing Izuku sitting in the living room. He was striking, with dreads and a strong aura that hinted at danger. Izuku observed that this version of Miles was different, exuding a menacing presence that suggested he had been involved in darker activities. Miles felt an overwhelming pressure from Izuku, recognizing him as the CEO of Parker Industries, rumored to be even more successful than Tony Stark. Confused about why someone like Izuku was in their home, he felt a strange aura of death surrounding him. After a brief interaction, Miles kissed his mother on the cheek and retreated to his room to work on his Prowler suit, having taken a different path than Spider-Man. Rio returned with tea and snacks, placing them on the table with a smile. Izuku enjoyed the treats and complimented her cooking. She asked about his relationship with Mei, and he explained that he was her nephew, having lost contact long ago. Rio was surprised, as Mei had told her that all her family members had passed away. Izuku realized that Uncle Ben's counterpart was also gone in this dimension. Rio shared that this house belonged to Aunt Mei, who had taken them in during a difficult time after her husband had died. She had helped them financially and supported Miles's education until she fell ill. As she recounted the story, Izuku listened intently, understanding the weight of loss that had shaped their lives. Rio explained that Mei had been diagnosed with cancer and had passed away, but they had ensured she received a proper funeral attended by many she had helped over the years, including the billionaire Bruce Wayne and his wife, Selena Wayne. At the funeral, Izuku stood alongside his friends, a bittersweet smile on his face. Rio reflected on the life of the woman they had lost, noting that she had passed away with a smile, content with the life she had lived. She had dedicated herself to helping those in need, and Izuku felt a deep sadness knowing that this version of Aunt Mei had also departed. Yet, he took comfort in the thought that she had lived her life to the fullest, positively impacting many lives. Izuku mused to himself that in every universe, Aunt Mei would always be the kind, sweet, helpful, and caring woman he knew. Venom agreed, acknowledging that even in this dimension, she had changed lives for the better. Izuku felt a sense of responsibility, realizing it was now his turn to support her legacy, especially since she had ensured a proper farewell. He turned to Rio with a bright smile, ready to make an offer. He proposed that she join Parker Industries, and her eyes widened in surprise at his words. Izuku continued, explaining that not only would she work there, but he would also cover all college expenses for her and Miles. He assured her that he would take care of them just as Aunt Mei had done. He offered a generous salary of $10 million and invited them to stay with him in his mansion, where there were plenty of unused rooms. Despite his enthusiasm, Rio hesitated, feeling overwhelmed by the offer. Izuku insisted, reminding her that his aunt had always encouraged him to help those in need, and he wanted to extend that support to her and Miles. Caught off guard, Rio embraced Izuku, grateful for his kindness. He returned the hug, feeling a sense of warmth and connection. Izuku informed her that they could move in at the end of the week, giving them time to pack. She expressed her heartfelt thanks, and he reassured her that he was just happy to help. As he prepared to share the good news with Miles, Rio pointed out the direction to his room, feeling a mix of emotions as they stepped into this new chapter together. Izuku smiled and thanked Miles before leaving to head to his room. Inside, Miles was trying on his upgraded Prowler suit. As he looked at himself in the mirror, he smirked beneath his mask. He felt pleased with the improvements he had made using the technology he acquired from Parker's insurance warehouse. The suit and weapons were now more durable and powerful than ever. Miles reflected on how tight the security had been but felt a sense of accomplishment for managing to pull it off, especially since Izuku Black Parker had not been at his office. He was confident that Izuku would never discover that he was the one who had taken the tech. Meanwhile, Izuku confronted Miles, revealing that he knew about the Prowler and the theft of his technology. He expressed disbelief at Miles's audacity for stealing from him, suggesting that it was a reckless move. Izuku made it clear that he had been aware of the theft despite his usual laziness. Miles was taken aback, realizing that Izuku had entered his room without him sensing it. He jumped back, creating distance as he deactivated his mask, feeling nervous and sweating. He asked how Izuku had gotten into his room, to which Izuku cryptically replied that he had his ways. Miles wondered if Izuku would inform his mother about the situation, but Izuku reassured him that he wouldn't snitch. He had initially intended to hunt Miles down but had been too lazy to do so. As they spoke, Izuku's presence felt heavy and overwhelming to Miles, who questioned whether Izuku was even human. Izuku looked him straight in the eyes, his gaze glowing with power, sending chills down Miles's spine. He explained that he was someone far beyond Miles's understanding and shared his intentions to help Miles and his family, which surprised Miles. Izuku tossed a card to Miles, offering to help him become stronger if he ever needed it. Afterward, he left to join Rio, who was cleaning the table. She smiled at him and asked if he had told Miles the truth. Izuku confirmed that he had, and Rio invited him to stay for dinner. He accepted, and during the meal he got to know both her and Miles better, who began to open up to him, much to Rio's delight. As Izuku prepared to leave, Rio expressed her gratitude for everything he had done for them. Izuku insisted it was no trouble, feeling happy to assist a single mother and her son in need. He found her smile appealing and, in a surprising gesture, moved her hair aside and kissed her forehead, making her blush. He reminded her to call him if she needed anything and encouraged her to keep smiling, as it made her look appealing. After saying goodbye, Izuku walked away with a smile on his face. Venom commented on how appealing Miles's mother was and praised her cooking. Izuku agreed, appreciating her kindness and gentleness. He felt fulfilled knowing he could help. Venom then asked if Izuku planned to train Miles. Izuku replied that he wouldn't force Miles to train with him, he would help him grow stronger if Miles wanted it. He believed Miles had the potential to become one of the strongest young heroes in the world with the right training. As Izuku approached home, he knew he was in for a challenge when he saw Caitlyn watching TV. He felt a bit nervous, recalling the kiss from Patty that had been broadcasted. Caitlyn greeted him warmly, mentioning that she had seen the news and teasing him about looking cute when scared. She reassured him that she wasn't angry and revealed that Patty would be coming over with Kara to hang out the next day. Izuku sighed in relief, grateful that he wouldn't face Caitlyn's wrath. He then noticed that Caitlyn's hair had returned to its natural brown color and asked her about it. Just then, Frost appeared, startling Izuku. Frost giggled at his reaction, and he inquired about how they had separated after he had merged them together. Frost explained that they had glowed and then been separated after Izuku left. After some thought, Izuku realized that he hadn't made their merging permanent, which was why they had returned to their separate forms. Izuku explained that a time limit had been placed on their merging, indicating that they could only remain combined for a day since he had merged them the previous day. After that, they would need to separate unless he decided to make it permanent. He mentioned that his powers had automatically given Frost a physical form. Caitlyn expressed her longing not to be merged, stating that she enjoyed things as they were. Frost agreed, appreciating her own body and the ability to create memories with both Caitlyn and Izuku. They both playfully noted how lucky Frost was to have two appealing girlfriends. Izuku chuckled, sharing a kiss with both of them, and after a moment, they settled on the couch to cuddle while watching a movie. He felt a sense of agreement with his partners, thinking about how he needed to train Caitlyn and create a symbiote for her. He wanted her to be able to protect herself when he wasn't around, which would ease his mind. Venom chimed in, recognizing that the symbiote would keep Caitlyn safe. Izuku mentioned that he would soon test a new skill he had developed, waiting for a worthy opponent to challenge him. Meanwhile, Dr. Doom sneezed while reading in his room, pondering that someone must be discussing him. He felt weary of battling the Fantastic Four and longed for a true challenge, sensing that he might soon encounter someone capable of providing one. In the realm of the goddess of death, Hela rose from her throne with a stuck smile, contemplating meeting the knight who had revived the souls that belonged to her. Back at home, Izuku felt an unsettling chill run down his spine, questioning why he felt that way when it wasn't cold. Hela mused about testing the strength of Spider-Man, or as she referred to him, Izuku Black Parker. Weeks passed, and Miles and Rio moved in with Izuku, Caitlyn, and Frost. Miles opened up to Izuku, looking up to him and asking for training, which Izuku promised to provide when he had the time. He also equipped Caitlyn with a symbiote, teaching her how to use it along with various martial arts techniques for self-defense. Izuku met Kara and Patty, forming friendships with them as he revealed his identity as Spider-Man, surprising them, especially Kara, who was taken aback by the fact that her crush was dating her friend Caitlyn. Izuku confided in Bruce about being Spider-Man, shocking Bruce, who had been trying to connect with the vigilante for months. Their friendship deepened as they shared their past struggles, both having experienced pain and loss until Caitlyn and Selina brought love back into their lives. Izuku also met other members of the Justice League, forming bonds with them, though the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and X-Men had yet to meet him. The Avengers proved their heroism to Izuku, earning his respect, but he warned them that he would not hesitate to retaliate if they harmed any innocents. Patty, Rio, and Kara developed feelings for Izuku but kept them to themselves. The scene shifted to Star Labs, where Caitlyn, Frost, and Kara were with Cisco, Joe, and the rest of Team Flash. Barry and Iris were arguing in another room, leading Cisco to comment on their frequent disputes. Caitlyn sighed, inquiring about the cause of the latest argument. Cisco explained that Nora had been working with Thawne in the future, and Barry had sent her back, which upset Iris. Kara expressed her confusion over Barry's relationship with Iris, prompting Joe to defend his daughter. Caitlyn pointed out that Iris had been the first to oppose freeing Barry from the Speed Force. Frost, feeling frustrated, wished that 𝗬𝗏𝗃 had succeeded in eliminating Iris, believing it would have brought peace and happiness. Cisco then brought up Caitlyn and Frost's relationship, and Wally expressed curiosity about who the lucky guy was. Just then, Barry emerged from the room, visibly upset, and announced that he and Iris had decided to get a divorce, leaving everyone in shock. Frost couldn't help but feel a sense of relief, believing that Barry deserved better. Caitlyn looked at her sister, sighing heavily, knowing that Iris was happy. They both considered Barry their little brother and were overprotective of him. Frost had always believed that Iris was not worthy of Barry. Barry reflected on his feelings, realizing that he thought Iris was his lightning rod, but now he understood otherwise. Joe reassured them that they could work things out somehow, but Iris was firm in her decision. She declared that she and Barry were filing for divorce, unable to continue living in their current situation. Barry explained that their relationship was built on a shaky foundation, lacking trust and chemistry. Iris was taken aback by his words, struggling to comprehend what he meant. Barry acknowledged that their relationship was destined to be short-lived and admitted he had been foolish to think otherwise. He concluded that 𝗬𝗏𝗃 had been right, they were never meant to be together. Cisco then interjected, mentioning that Caitlyn and Frost had found boyfriends. Barry was already aware of this and even counted the new boyfriend as a friend. Cisco was surprised he hadn't known, and Caitlyn explained that he had been busy at the time. Frost assured them that their boyfriends would arrive soon. Meanwhile, Izuku stood atop a tall building in New York, admiring the appealing view of the city. He marveled at the fresh air, while Venom reminded him that they needed to head to Star Labs to meet Caitlyn, Frost, and Team Flash. Venom also pointed out that Kara, Rio, and Patty had feelings for Izuku. He acknowledged this, noting that Caitlyn and Frost were okay with sharing him, as long as they remained his top priorities. Suddenly, Izuku sensed someone nearby and called out to 𝗓𝗏, who emerged from a green portal with a smirk. Venom felt a chill run down his spine as 𝗓𝗏 approached Izuku, inspecting him as if he were a trophy. Izuku reassured Venom that they needed to tolerate her presence. 𝗓𝗏 commented on Izuku's aura, noting it was similar to Null's but much stronger. Izuku explained that he was the god of symbiotes, surprising 𝗓𝗏, who questioned how he could be if Null was also considered a god. Izuku revealed that he was from a different dimension where he had been a hero named Spider-Man. Null, who had become his father, had given him the chance to be his successor, allowing him to surpass Null. 𝗓𝗏 inquired about Null's absence in this dimension, and Izuku smirked, confirming that he had indeed killed him to ensure he was gone for good. 𝗓𝗏 speculated that the other gods and the Heavenly Alliance would not be pleased with this revelation. Curious, Izuku asked 𝗓𝗏 about this dimension's Heavenly Alliance and gods. 𝗓𝗏 proposed a deal. She would share information about them in exchange for details about Izuku's past and his purpose in this dimension. She placed her finger on his chest, prompting Izuku to consider the implications of her offer. Venom observed that 𝗓𝗏 was clearly interested in Izuku, and he felt uneasy about her intentions. 𝗓𝗏 expressed her interest in Izuku, calling him handsome and suggesting that they were on the same page. Izuku sighed, realizing that she was likely the only one who could provide the information he sought about the Heavenly Alliance. He warned 𝗓𝗏 that if she provided false information or failed to answer his questions, he would ensure she faced dire consequences. 𝗓𝗏's smirk transformed into a more stuck expression, finding Izuku's seriousness attractive. As she leaned closer, 𝗓𝗏 playfully whispered in his ear, expressing her longing for him. In that moment, she marked Izuku as her mate, causing him to blush without realizing the significance of her action. Izuku felt an unexpected surge of power, wondering what had happened. 𝗓𝗓 created 2 chairs with her magic and invited him to sit beside her. Izuku questioned what she had done to him, and she explained that she had given him a boost of power by marking him. Izuku was taken aback by her declaration of wanting him as her mate so soon after meeting. 𝗓𝗓 assured him that they could get to know each other better over time, claiming it was love at first sight. She had been watching him for a long time and asked if she was not the most appealing goddess he had ever seen. Izuku couldn't deny her beauty, realizing that she had been observing him all along. Izuku felt a rush of emotions as he navigated his relationships. He had already marked 2 girlfriends as his mates, and now 𝗓𝗓 was asking to be marked as well. Understanding that arguing with her was futile, he settled into a chair and looked at her. 𝗓𝗓 insisted that before sharing any information he needed to mark her as his mate. With a resigned sigh, he complied, feeling her power surge as he did so. Once the marking was complete, Izuku inquired about what 𝗓𝗓 wanted to know. She requested that he share everything about himself, including his past and the reasons for his arrival in this dimension. Izuku stared at her, momentarily lost in thought. 𝗓𝗓 noticed his distraction and playfully snapped her fingers to regain his attention. Realizing her beauty had captivated him, 𝗓𝗓 decided to test the waters. She leaned in and shared a brief kiss with Izuku, who was taken aback but gradually returned the gesture. When they pulled apart, a faint blush colored his cheeks, which made 𝗓𝗓 smile, finding him endearing. They began to share their stories. Izuku recounted his life in his previous dimension, detailing the hardships he faced and the times he was let down. 𝗓𝗓 listened intently, her eyes widening in disbelief as she absorbed the weight of his experiences. It was hard for her to comprehend how he remained so positive despite everything he had endured. Izuku explained that he had learned to keep moving forward, thanks to the guidance of his Aunt May and Uncle Ben, who taught him resilience. His father, 𝗓𝗓, had instilled in him the importance of strength and living without regrets. He emphasized that despite the struggles he faced, he had found happiness in this new dimension, surrounded by people who cared for him, including 𝗓𝗓. 𝗓𝗓 reflected on how remarkable Izuku was, noting that even after all he had been through, he maintained a gentle spirit. She admired his ability to put others' needs before his own, recognizing the depth of his character. Curious about the dimension they were in, Izuku asked 𝗓𝗓 about the Heavenly Alliance and the gods within it, particularly why her version of his father was sealed. 𝗓𝗓 explained that Null, the being Izuku had defeated, was purely evil, driven by chaos and destruction. The Heavenly Alliance was formed to maintain balance and deliver justice, but some of the gods became corrupted by power. In a twist of fate, they ended up fighting their creator, ultimately sealing him away when they couldn't defeat him outright. Izuku learned that there were currently 5 gods ruling the Heavenly Alliance, but 𝗓𝗓 admitted she didn't know much about them, as she had been training for her role as the goddess of death at the time. Feeling a connection, Izuku smiled and shared a brief kiss with 𝗓𝗓, who was pleasantly surprised and blushed deeply. He playfully acknowledged her for earning the kiss and mentioned it was time to head out, as he was sure Frost and Caitlyn were waiting for them. 𝗓𝗓 expressed her longing to take care of some business before moving in with him, assuring him she would not take too long. As she walked away, Izuku admired her grace and felt fortunate to have her in his life. With a newfound sense of determination, he used his darkness manipulation to travel into the shadows, heading to Star Labs. The scene shifted to the lab, where everyone was engaged in conversation with Rio. Caitlyn and Frost had called her to discuss their plans for confessing their feelings to Izuku. 𝗓𝗓 expressed her longing to be open about their feelings for him. She hoped he would accept them. Frost mentioned that he was already aware of their feelings and was simply waiting for them to gather the courage to confess. Rio questioned why he hadn't arrived yet, noting that he should have been there 2 hours earlier. Caitlyn suggested he might have been delayed by something, considering who he was. Rio then brought up Miles, explaining that he was at home with friends and had no issue with Rio's feelings for Izuku, as he had started to see Izuku as a father figure. Patty was pleased to hear this. Barry asked Cisco what he was watching, to which Cisco replied that he was enjoying some impressive moments of Spider-Man captured by fans. Barry noted Cisco's enthusiasm for Spider-Man, who he described as cool, tough, and legendary. The girls giggled at Cisco's admiration for Izuku. Cisco shared one of his favorite moments when Izuku had taken on the Avengers and even challenged them on live television. He then connected his phone to the screen, showcasing Izuku's incredible speed and agility as he dodged lightning. Cisco remarked on how Izuku was on another level and asked Barry about his experience working with him. Barry described Izuku as cool, with methods that were intense but also kind and caring. He emphasized that deep down, Izuku was a gentle person. Iris countered that there was nothing gentle about him, claiming he was a monster who harmed people. Barry defended Izuku, stating that he was respected by the League and was a good hero, urging Iris not to label him a monster. Iris insisted on her viewpoint, calling him a menace to society. Cisco stood up for Izuku, asserting that Spider-Man was one of the greatest heroes of their generation, having saved more people in a few months than many established heroes. The girls who admired Izuku struggled to contain their anger towards Iris, reminding themselves to stay calm. Caitlyn felt the urge to defend her beloved Izuku, contemplating how to handle Iris's disrespect. Suddenly, an overwhelming presence filled the room, causing everyone to go on high alert. A shadow formed, and Izuku emerged from it, his aura commanding attention. He greeted everyone, and Frost and Caitlyn rushed to embrace him, which he returned with a smile and a gentle kiss on their foreheads. Izuku inquired about how they were doing, and Frost informed him they had been waiting for his arrival. He acknowledged the group and greeted Barry, who hugged him and noted the change in Izuku's aura, which felt darker and more intense than before. Izuku was excited to see how strong Barry would become when he reached his full potential. As Caitlyn introduced Izuku to everyone, he found it amusing that Cisco was such a big fan. However, he soon addressed the comments made about him, pointing out that someone had called him a menace and a monster. The room fell silent as everyone realized Izuku had overheard them. He warned them about the consequences of such disrespect, his hand enveloped in dark energy, sending chills down their spines. The scene was set for what would come next, leaving everyone in suspense. Joe's eyes widened in surprise as Iris exclaimed her disbelief at Barry's friendship with someone she deemed a monster. Barry glared at Iris, his expression icy, sending chills down her spine. He warned her to watch her tone. Joe and Wally were taken aback by Barry's choice of words, addressing Iris by her full name. Joe reminded Barry that despite his anger, Iris was his wife, and he shouldn't speak to her that way. Barry retorted that he and Iris were done. Izuku chimed in, stating that his little brother couldn't remain in such a toxic relationship, implying that Iris was not the right person for him. Iris shot back, blaming Izuku for the situation. Izuku dismissed her accusations, confident that she couldn't change the reality of their relationship. He warned her that if she revealed his secret identity, he would take serious action against her and those she cared about. His cold gaze made it clear he was serious, and some of the girls found his intensity appealing. Barry confronted Iris about their relationship, expressing his hurt over years of unreciprocated love while she seemed to move from one man to another. He revealed that he often returned home to find her upset over a past love, which only deepened his pain. Barry emphasized the sacrifices he made to protect the city alongside Izuku and the team, while Iris remained behind a desk, seemingly oblivious to his struggles. He declared that Team Flash could function without her. Iris reminded Barry that she had led Team Flash during his absence, but Barry countered that she had given up on him and didn't want him back. He expressed that marrying her had been a mistake. As tears welled in Iris's eyes, Barry told her to leave, stating that they were now strangers and the only time they would see each other again would be during their divorce proceedings. Heartbroken, Iris ran out of Star Labs, with Joe and Wally chasing after her. Izuku patted Barry's back, affirming that he had done the right thing. Barry felt a weight lift from his chest, finally free to express his true feelings. Caitlyn approached Izuku, asking to speak with him. He followed the girls to the speed lab, curious about what they wanted to discuss. Frost revealed that they had a confession to make. The girls took a deep breath and expressed their feelings for Izuku, asking him to be their boyfriend. With a warm smile, Izuku agreed, kissing each of them in turn, leaving them breathless. Venom, having just woken from a nap, reminded Izuku not to forget about 𝗓𝗓. Izuku explained that 𝗓𝗓, the goddess of death, was also his mate. Frost teased that even a goddess couldn't resist his charm. Izuku then decided to mark the girls as his mates and promised to train them to protect themselves. As he marked Patty, Kara, and Rio, alarms suddenly blared, prompting everyone to rush to the cortex. Caitlyn inquired about the situation, and Cisco informed them that a reserve Flash had appeared, and Barry had gone to confront him. Caitlyn insisted they should help Barry, recalling that he had lost to this foe before. Izuku, however, believed this was Barry's fight. He sat down, using his powers to create a screen so everyone could watch the battle. He expressed his confidence in Barry, assuring them that he wouldn't lose to 𝗏𝗏 this time. Caitlyn reminded Izuku to assist Barry if things went wrong, to which he agreed, confident that the chances of that happening were slim. Meanwhile, Barry confronted 𝗏𝗏, their eyes locking with intensity. 𝗏𝗏 expressed his anger over Barry's divorce from Iris, claiming it had altered his future and the timeline itself. Barry, unfazed, dismissed 𝗏𝗏's concerns, offering him a chance to walk away while he still could. 𝗏𝗏, undeterred, charged at Barry, his speed increasing as he prepared to strike. Barry noticed the change in 𝗏𝗏's speed, realizing he had become slower. Flashbacks of his training with Izuku flooded his mind, reminding him of the strength he had gained. Izuku encouraged Barry to improve his hand-to-hand combat and martial arts skills, emphasizing the importance of building muscle and stamina to enhance his speed. Barry questioned whether this was the reason Izuku advised him against relying solely on his speed. Izuku confirmed that Barry had the highest potential among all the heroes and League members, alongside a select few. He explained that Barry just needed to unlock that potential to become the god of motion, the fastest speedster to ever exist. Barry's eyes widened at the thought of surpassing Izuku's speed. Izuku revealed that he had only been using 2% of his true speed and proposed a race once Barry unlocked his full potential. Venom observed that even if Barry reached his full potential, he would still struggle against Izuku, who defied all logic and reason. Izuku recalled what Caitlyn and Frost had told him about 𝗬𝗏, a speedster who achieved unprecedented speed and became the god of speed. He noted that 𝗬𝗏 was essentially a version of Barry who had fully unlocked his abilities. Izuku committed to helping Barry unlock his full potential over the next month, promising that after their training, Barry would be the fastest man alive, the god of motion. Barry was eager to start but had one question: just how strong was Izuku at full power? Izuku chuckled and explained that he had never fought anyone at even 10% of his power, only using a maximum of 5% in his battles so far. He smirked at Barry, stating that he would only fight at full strength when someone could truly challenge him. He reminded Barry that winning was everything and that they could never afford to lose, a rule that was absolute. As the memory faded, Barry confronted 𝗏𝗏, delivering a powerful punch that sent him sprawling. Time resumed its normal flow, and Barry looked at 𝗏𝗏, who was still in shock on the ground. 𝗏𝗏, bewildered, demanded to know what Barry had done, claiming he had created him and taught him everything he knew. Barry, now enveloped in lightning with glowing orange eyes, simply remarked that he had become faster. The others, witnessing the exchange, were astonished by Barry's newfound speed. Cisco expressed disbelief at how Barry had overpowered Reverse Flash so easily, while Patty noted the difference in his aura, even through a screen. Frost pondered how Barry had achieved such speed in just 1 month, prompting Rio to suggest he might know the answer. Everyone turned to Izuku, who was smirking with his hand covering his face, clearly pleased with what he had witnessed. Frost remarked that Izuku's expression revealed everything, and Caitlyn agreed, noting his excitement for Barry's performance. Izuku encouraged Barry to show everyone why he was the fastest man alive and to prove himself as the god of motion. Back in the fight, Barry unleashed a flurry of strikes against Reverse Flash, overwhelming him with his speed. He landed a punch to 𝗏𝗏's throat, followed by blows to his chest and rib cage, causing 𝗏𝗏 to cry out in pain. Barry then seized 𝗏𝗏 by the neck, smirking as he suggested they go for a run. He dragged 𝗏𝗏 around the world, giving him a taste of 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏's treatment before returning to their original spot and tossing 𝗲𝗏 to the ground. Izuku asked if 𝗲𝗏 had had enough, to which 𝗲𝗏 defiantly responded that he was far from finished. He charged at 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏, but 𝗬𝗏𝗧 effortlessly dodged the attack, appearing behind 𝗲𝗏 to kick him in the back. He followed up with a rapid two-piece combo, then grabbed 𝗲𝗏 by the neck and slammed him to the ground, looking down at him with disdain. 𝗬𝗏𝗧 taunted 𝗲𝗏, calling him pathetic as 𝗲𝗏 struggled on the ground, bewildered by 𝗬𝗏𝗧's strength. 𝗬𝗏𝗧 questioned how 𝗲𝗏 had become so powerful. He reminded 𝗲𝗏 that a dead man had no need for information. 𝗬𝗏𝗧 pointed out that 𝗲𝗏 had always claimed to be one step ahead in their battles, but this time, he had lost. 𝗬𝗏𝗧 removed 𝗲𝗏's mask and lifted him by the hair, his hand phasing and crackling with electricity. He confronted 𝗲𝗏 about how he had taken his mother's life, stabbing her in the chest and stopping her heart. 𝗬𝗏𝗧 declared that it was time for 𝗲𝗏 to experience the consequences of his actions. He then delivered a decisive blow to 𝗲𝗏's chest, ending his life, and tossed the body aside, taking a moment to breathe deeply. As 𝗲𝗏's body began to dissolve into red particles, 𝗬𝗏𝗧 felt a sense of liberation. He sped back to Star Labs, where Izuku stood, smiling at him. Izuku praised 𝗬𝗏𝗧 for handling the situation well, suggesting they celebrate with dinner at his place. 𝗧𝗏 enthusiastically agreed, and Izuku chuckled, confirming the plan. He teleported everyone to his mansion, which surprised 𝗬𝗏𝗧 and 𝗧𝗏 with its grandeur. 𝗬𝗏𝗧 marveled at the size of the mansion, while 𝗧𝗏 noted that as a billionaire, Izuku was expected to have such a home. Izuku welcomed everyone inside and offered to prepare dinner. As they entered, they found Miles lounging on the couch, engrossed in a game of Mortal Kombat. Izuku greeted him, and Miles acknowledged the return of his mother and her guests. Izuku sensed another presence in the mansion and inquired about it. Miles mentioned a woman named 𝗕𝗏, who claimed to be Izuku's partner and was currently in the shower. Izuku noted her arrival and encouraged everyone to freshen up while he and Caitlyn prepared dinner. Caitlyn agreed, and Miles was thrilled at the prospect of their cooking. Kara wondered what had Miles so excited, while Frost explained that Caitlyn and Izuku's cooking was exceptional. Izuku smiled, recalling how he had learned from the best. He shared a brief kiss with Caitlyn and then with Kara, who smiled back, making Izuku feel grateful for the wonderful girls in his life. He kissed the other girls as well before heading to the kitchen with Caitlyn to prepare dinner. Izuku suggested making a pie, which Caitlyn thought was a great idea since it had been a while since she had enjoyed one. Venom suddenly appeared, requesting a strawberry pie. Caitlyn assured Venom that Izuku would make it for dessert. However, Izuku admitted that he didn't know how to make a pie. Venom was incredulous, pointing out that Izuku was the god of symbiotes and darkness, capable of bending reality to his will, yet he couldn't make a simple pie. Izuku defended himself, explaining that he had rarely eaten pie and usually ordered it or enjoyed Aunt May's. Caitlyn offered to teach Izuku quickly, and he happily agreed. After an hour of effort, Izuku managed to make a pie, though it wasn't as perfect as Caitlyn's. He sighed, but Caitlyn reassured him that it was still a pie, and they shared a laugh together. Once dinner was ready, they set the table and enjoyed a delightful meal. Izuku was pleased to see 𝗕𝗏 getting along with the other girls. After dinner, he dropped 𝗬𝗏𝗧 and 𝗧𝗏 off at their homes before heading to bed with his partners. Weeks passed, during which Izuku grew even closer to his girls, their bonds strengthening. They meant everything to him, and he even set up an office for 𝗕𝗏, who managed the land of the dead and determined the fate of souls. He trained Patty and Rio, giving them symbiotes, and became 𝗕𝗏's personal demon hunter, feared by rogue demons and supernatural beings alike. One day, Izuku felt bored due to the lack of crime and decided to check in on 𝗕𝗏. Venom urged him to find something exciting to do. Upon entering 𝗕𝗏's office, he found her focused on her computer. She greeted him warmly, and they shared a long kiss before breaking apart. Izuku asked if she had any missions for him, as he didn't want to disturb the girls who were busy with their own tasks. 𝗕𝗏 revealed that a demon from the underworld was getting married after having killed many humans, believing she could lead a normal life. She had managed to evade 𝗕𝗏's notice, and 𝗕𝗏 tasked Izuku with eliminating her and bringing her soul back. Izuku agreed, expressing his willingness to do anything for her, and they shared another passionate kiss before he left. As Izuku approached the wedding hall, he held an umbrella made by the girls, noting the unexpected rain. He entered the hall, scanning the area for security measures, and chuckled at the sight of the bride and groom's picture, ready to carry out his mission. Michaela believed she could lead a normal life after everything she had done. In the bride's room, she was busy taking pictures with her friends, who were excitedly admiring her appearance. One friend exclaimed how stunning Michaela looked, and another agreed enthusiastically. Michaela, a demon with a dark past of chaos and despair, had hidden her true nature to pursue a life with a human she loved. Despite being one of the strongest demons in hell, she had managed to keep her identity a secret from 𝐕𝗲, the goddess of death. However, Izuku, who had a complicated history with her father, was unaware of this connection. As the girls continued to take selfies, a voice interrupted them, questioning why there had been no wedding invitation sent. Michaela and her friends turned to see Izuku standing there, holding his umbrella. The friends were curious about his identity, wondering if he was Michaela's ex. Michaela requested her friends to leave them alone, and they complied, casting curious glances at Izuku as they exited. Once alone, Michaela asked Izuku what he was doing there. He replied that he wasn't there to catch her bouquet. When she inquired how he had found her, he pointed out that she had hidden herself well. He reminded her that changing her appearance wouldn't erase her past, and that altering her identity was not as simple as she thought. As he examined the decorations, he commented on their beauty. Michaela pleaded for forgiveness, but Izuku told her it was too late for that. She insisted she had changed and no longer desired to harm humans. Izuku chuckled, his expression turning serious as he confronted her about her past actions. Michaela expressed her longing to live a normal life and forget her previous deeds. Izuku, however, remained skeptical and warned her that her fate was sealed. As tensions rose, Michaela revealed her claws, but Izuku remained unfazed. He dodged her attack effortlessly, and in a swift motion, transformed his umbrella into a weapon, pointing it at her neck. He asked if she was ready to face her end. Michaela began to tear up, begging to see her lover one last time. Izuku advised against it, but a voice in his head urged him to grant her request. Just then, a maid entered, prompting Izuku to revert his weapon back into an umbrella. Michaela concealed her claws behind her back as the maid informed her that the groom was waiting. Michaela requested a moment, and Izuku whispered that he would give her time until the wedding was over before he would act. She then left with the maid, leaving Izuku to ponder his decision. He felt a mix of regret and anticipation about allowing her this final moment with her lover. Venom reassured him that nothing would go wrong, as Michaela understood the consequences of her actions. Izuku smiled, his eyes glowing with power, relishing the hunt that awaited him. The scene shifted to the wedding ceremony, where Izuku sat among the guests, observing the proceedings with impatience. He wished for the event to conclude quickly. Michaela, while reciting her vows, glanced at Izuku, who was enjoying ice cream and chatting with others. Unbeknownst to him, she used her magic to summon assistance. As the ceremony concluded, Izuku stood up, umbrella in hand, ready to confront Michaela. He decided to grab more ice cream before taking action, and Venom suggested mint chocolate flavor. After getting his treat, he scanned the area for anything unusual and unexpectedly bumped into someone he thought he would never see again. Iris confronted him, expressing her disdain. Izuku recognized her and warned her not to reveal his identity. As he leaned closer to whisper a threat, another voice interrupted, surprising him. It was MJ, bringing drinks for Iris. Izuku realized that this dimension had its own complications, and he was not surprised to see Iris and MJ together. Izuku glanced at Mary Jane, trying to mask his discomfort. Mary Jane introduced herself as Izuku Blackparker, expressing her pleasure and honor in meeting him. She extended her hand for a handshake, but Izuku merely stared at her, uninterested. He acknowledged her with a brief response before excusing himself and walking away. Mary Jane turned to Iris, curious if she knew him. Iris confirmed that he was Barry's friend and the reason for their impending divorce, labeling him a 𝗕𝗓𝗄. Mary Jane encouraged Iris to share what had happened at home, noting that the wedding was over and Paul was likely waiting for them outside. In this dimension, Iris and Mary Jane were best friends after Barry had kicked Iris out, leading her to live with Mary Jane and her husband, Paul. Iris agreed, and they prepared to leave. Meanwhile, Izuku hid behind a pillar, observing the groom and his family exiting the bride's room. He waited for them to pass before heading to the room himself. Upon entering, he was unexpectedly confronted by Michaela. He remarked that she wouldn't go down without a fight, blocking her attack with his umbrella and countering with a swift strike that sent her crashing into a mirror. He sighed, urging her to stop resisting as he promised a swift end. Izuku's eyes glowed with power as he declared that her fate was sealed and no one would come to save her. Michaela, with her neck twisted unnaturally, slowly righted herself, which unnerved Izuku. He was relieved that his own neck remained intact, finding her theatrics unnecessary. Michaela addressed him, recognizing him as the demon hunter and questioning his right to punish them. Izuku explained that he was merely following orders from his queen and assured her that he would make it quick. As she ignited her hands with crimson flames and launched an attack, Izuku opened his umbrella to block the fire, recognizing the flames as familiar. After the flames subsided, he noticed Michaela was missing and sighed, frustrated with her antics. Michaela was soon seen running into a room, pleading for help. Izuku entered and closed the door behind him, causing the cameras in the building to shut off. He approached the group as Michaela hid behind her husband, revealing her claws. Izuku questioned her belief in survival. Michaela's husband demanded to know who Izuku was, and as his friends rushed to support him, Izuku recalled 𝗕𝗁's words about avoiding unnecessary killing. He decided to have some fun, swiftly incapacitating the group with his umbrella and a few well-placed strikes. As more demons emerged from a portal, Izuku transformed his umbrella into a sword, dispatching them effortlessly. Their bodies disintegrated upon contact with his weapon, prompting Izuku to express his disappointment in their weakness. Michaela's husband charged at him, only to be met with a swift kick that left him gasping for air. Izuku approached Michaela again, transforming his sword back into an umbrella. As her husband clutched Izuku's leg, he received a kick to the face that broke his jaw, leaving Michaela in shock. She retaliated with a barrage of flame and poison blasts, but Izuku effortlessly dodged them, taunting her aim. Michaela's desperation grew as she launched slashes at him, but he parried each one and slammed her to the ground. She struggled to speak, warning him of her father and uncle's power. Izuku questioned her about them, learning that her father was Mephisto and her uncle was Trigon. This revelation deepened his resolve. He noted that she could have escaped while he was distracted but chose not to. Michaela expressed her longing to be a bride, acknowledging her lack of options. Her husband, witnessing the scene, was devastated to see her in such a state. Michaela pleaded for him not to look. In a swift motion, Izuku transformed his umbrella back into a sword and struck Michaela, causing her to cough up blood as her veins darkened. She made a final request for him to erase her husband's memories of her. Izuku complied, removing his sword and watching as her lifeless body turned to dust, leaving only her wedding dress behind. He approached Michaela's husband, lowering himself to his level and contemplating altering his memories to make it seem as though Michaela had cheated on him. Izuku was indifferent to the consequences of his actions, focused solely on his mission. It was not his fault that someone had fallen for a demon destined for tragedy. His hair obscured his face, but he lifted his head slightly, revealing glowing eyes. Izuku warned that everything witnessed that day should be forgotten, for if not, he would return with vengeance. Meanwhile, Mephisto attempted to sense Michaela's presence, but found nothing. Mephisto expressed concern over Michaela's disappearance, while Trigon agreed that something must have happened to her. Mephisto lamented that no one on Earth could match her power except for a select few. Just then, a demon general entered the throne room and bowed respectfully. The demon general delivered troubling news regarding Lady Michaela. Mephisto inquired about the details, and the general revealed that she had been killed. Both Trigon and Mephisto were taken aback, their eyes widening in disbelief. They demanded to know who was responsible for this tragedy. The demon general conjured a magical image, revealing Izuku walking through a building with an umbrella, rain pouring down. He explained that this was the man who had taken her life, stating that she was to be married to a human before he had ended her existence and erased all memories of her lover. Fury consumed Mephisto as he gazed at the image of Izuku, vowing to take revenge. Trigon asked for the man's name, and the demon general replied that he was Izuku Blackparker. Trigon urged caution, emphasizing the need to understand the man's power before taking action. The demon general confirmed that they had obtained a video showcasing Izuku's abilities. As they watched, the demons were astonished to see Izuku dispatch high-ranking demons with a single swing. Trigon noted the evolution of Izuku's weapon, realizing its formidable nature. He acknowledged the threat posed by this powerful individual, recognizing the menacing aura emanating from him. Trigon warned that this man was the darkness that had infiltrated their realm, and they needed to strategize carefully. He vowed to avenge his niece, noting that Michaela's soul had not reached them, indicating her departure from this world. He urged his brother to remain strong, promising that they would seek justice for Michaela. Mephisto agreed, silently vowing to make the one responsible suffer for his actions. The determination for revenge burned brightly in their hearts as they prepared for the challenges ahead. The demon general reported to Trigon that the girl was still on the run but assured him they would find her soon. Trigon, resting his chin on his hand, sighed, contemplating how long she could evade him. In an alleyway, a girl with purple hair was injured and breathing heavily. She cursed her situation, determined not to return to the torment she had endured for so long. Sensing approaching footsteps, she quickly opened a portal and stepped through. Meanwhile, Izuku was in the Hall of Justice with the Justice League. Superman greeted him warmly, and Izuku inquired about Diana's whereabouts. Cyborg explained that she had gone to get him ice cream, knowing it was his favorite. Izuku chuckled, realizing her thoughtful gesture. Venom noted that Diana had feelings for Izuku, while Flash asked if he was ready for the meeting. Izuku confirmed he was prepared, proud to be a member of the Justice League. Batman expressed his satisfaction that Izuku had accepted their invitation. Diana returned, holding 2 ice cream cones, and Izuku smiled at her. He admired her beauty, and Venom teased him about his feelings. Diana greeted Izuku and handed him his favorite mint chocolate ice cream. They began chatting, and the other members of the Justice League observed their interaction with smiles. Green Lantern remarked on Diana's bright smile, while Batman noted the obvious mutual affection between her and Izuku. Green Arrow speculated on who would confess their feelings first, and Flash predicted it would be Izuku, who liked to take charge. Cyborg suggested they would soon find out. After finishing their ice cream, they strolled around the hall. Unable to resist any longer, Izuku gazed at Diana, contemplating his next move. Diana noticed his stare and turned to him, curious about what was on his mind. Suddenly, Izuku pressed her against the wall, causing her to blush. He confessed that he was doing something he should have done long ago and kissed her passionately. Diana was taken aback at first but soon reciprocated, their kiss filled with mutual affection. After breaking apart, both were slightly breathless. Diana expressed her amazement at the kiss, and Izuku confessed his love for her. He admired her kindness, strength, and beauty, asking her to be one of his queens. Tears of joy filled Diana's eyes as she kissed him again, and they shared a warm moment. Izuku smiled, interpreting her reaction as a positive response. They joined the rest of the League to share the news of their relationship, which was met with happiness from their friends. Batman received a message from Nightwing about the arrival of the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men. He announced it was time to head to the meeting room. The Justice League agreed, and Izuku transformed into his symbiote suit as they proceeded to the meeting. Once inside, Izuku took a seat next to Diana, resting his head on her shoulder. Batman welcomed everyone and introduced Spider-Man as the newest member of the Justice League, advising them not to attack him. Iron Man expressed surprise at the decision, while Reed acknowledged Spider-Man's potential. Diana reassured everyone that Spider-Man would only deal with villains who couldn't be redeemed. Emma Frost then asked if Spider-Man would reveal his identity. Izuku agreed, feeling they had proven themselves as true heroes. As he removed his mask, The room fell silent in shock at his handsome appearance, causing some of the girls to blush. Iron Man remarked on the unexpected revelation, while Susan asked if he hated them. Izuku questioned her reasoning, and Jean explained that their encounters often left the Justice League with minimal damage, while he seemed to harbor a darker aura. Izuku suggested Emma read his mind to understand his feelings better. She approached him and, upon seeing his memories, was left in shock and tears, realizing the pain he had endured as a boy. Pain filled the air as Johnny expressed concern for Emma, noticing her tears. Ben asked what had frightened her. Wolverine, furious, seized Izuku by the collar, demanding to know what he had done to Emma. In response, Izuku gripped Wolverine's arm tightly, applying pressure that made Wolverine wince in discomfort. Izuku declared that Wolverine should release him. Just as he was about to apply more force, he let go, surprised by the strength Izuku had displayed. Batman intervened, explaining that Emma's distress stemmed from witnessing Izuku's memories. Black Widow questioned what she had seen that caused such a reaction. Batman requested Izuku to share his memories with the group. Reluctantly, Izuku agreed, connecting their minds and revealing the painful experiences he had endured. The heroes watched in shock and silence, grappling with the weight of what Izuku had gone through before arriving in their dimension. Standing tall, Izuku addressed the heroes, sharing his anguish since becoming Spider-Man. He posed a challenging question to the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men, asking if they would have made the same choices he had. The silence that followed spoke volumes. Izuku interpreted their lack of response as a no. He then pulled Dana close, who smiled warmly at him. He announced his departure, instructing the Justice League to call him if they needed assistance. With that, Izuku and Dana vanished into the shadows, arriving at his mansion. Dana marveled at the size of the place, and Izuku assured her that she would be living there with him and the other girls. He promised to help her find clothes and other essentials the following day. Dana affectionately called him Zuzu and kissed his cheek, making him smile as they entered the mansion, where the other girls awaited. Patty greeted Izuku, inquiring about his day. He replied that it had been good and shared affectionate kisses with all his girls, introducing Dana as their new sister. Hela then questioned Izuku about the mission's outcome. Frost expressed curiosity as well. Izuku confirmed that he had indeed completed the mission and revealed that Mephisto's daughter was involved. Hela was intrigued to learn that he had fought and defeated Mephisto once. Izuku acknowledged that Mephisto would likely seek revenge for the loss of his daughter. Hela presented a red orb, indicating it contained her soul. Izuku understood that when he eliminated someone at Hela's request, their souls would come to her. He expressed confidence that even if Mephisto from this dimension learned of his actions, he would be powerless against him. Izuku declared his determination to overcome any obstacles in his way. Hela found Izuku's seriousness appealing, while Kara and Frost shared similar sentiments. Hela then suggested they enjoy dinner, mentioning that Caitlyn had cooked. Frost added that she and Kara had helped as well. Izuku inquired about Miles, learning he was at a friend's house for a sleepover. He also checked on Carnage, who emerged from Rio's shoulder, showing his respect for Izuku. Carnage assured him he would never cause trouble, and Rio confirmed that their bond had grown stronger. Izuku then turned to Patty, asking how she and Scream were getting along. Patty confirmed that they were indeed getting along well, and Scream emerged to show her respect as well. Izuku expressed his pride in both Carnage and Scream for their efforts. He then looked at Caitlyn, asking about her relationship with Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom appeared, affirming their strong bond. Caitlyn asked about Venom, and Izuku confirmed he was resting. As dinner concluded, the group enjoyed a movie before heading to bed. Izuku waited for all his girls to fall asleep before dressing in a black hoodie and breathes, ready for the night. He kissed each of them gently on the forehead, watching them smile in their dreams. Later, he stood atop a building in the rain, sensing a surge of demonic energy nearby. Venom inquired if Izuku felt it too, and Izuku confirmed they were about to embark on a hunt. Venom expressed eagerness for a proper snack, and Izuku anticipated a thrilling night ahead. He felt a stronger presence than before, prompting him to leap from the building, ready for whatever awaited him. To be continued.